Yeah, Jordan thinks the mic goes hot means anything.
No. I just won't, I'll stop saying all of the words that I'm not supposed to use in the public, but I can't let them know that.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by No House Advantage. Yo, hopefully you guys took advantage of that free square yesterday, tailed me and Josh, because 4 for 4 across the board.
4 for 4. And I think we only other than the Morant one, I think we had two unique to each other too. So it's not like we just ran out the same top 4 plays from the Stokastic tool and called it a day.
Dude, the Pirtle one was no sweat at all. That hit in the first half.
Yep.
I had Harden over 2.5 threes hit in the first half. So I was sweating Banchero under 7.5 rebounds and got there.
So I had over 2.5 threes for Michael Porter Jr. and he got that pretty easily. I think he finished with 6 maybe. Oof. And then I had under Jamal Murray points. And I mean, he was live he had 15 or whatever for the home stretch of the game, but he didn't get anything. So it was a sweat in that you're not surprised if Jamal Murray hits 2 threes and runs it down. But in the end, no sweat whatsoever.
Take 11.
But an under on points is permanently a sweat if you're taking anybody.
It's the worst, dude. An under on rebounds is a sweat too, because they could have 0 across 2 quarters and then just 5 straight possessions. They've got it's the worst. But anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you're just walking in the door. David Estrada said, RIP Adam. Yes, Adam is in fact dead, but Josh is covering for him today, and he's happy to be here. I'm kidding. Adam is sick. Adam is sick. He's still down. He's alive though, but he's down. Yeah, down. They put him on bed rest, Josh. Yeah, they put him on bed rest, and they gave him, I think it was amoxicillin.
No, they wanted to put bleach in him, right?
I'm not. Yeah,
use the power of the sun to clean it out.
Yeah, some type of antibiotic. Who knows what for? Yeah. But
whatever
anyway.
Trump wanted to do to use to stop COVID, that's what they're giving Adam now.
Oh, well, yeah, a little light therapy.
Yeah,
intravenous light therapy.
Yep.
Happy to have you guys here, though. Hit that thumbs up. I'll do this one more time. Let's get over to over 100. We're at 700 people watching, almost 100 likes. I assume Adam should be back by Monday. I mean, he did the Bet Pro show today. I guess he's just.
If he's not back by Monday, we're gonna have a real conversation behind the scenes. I'm tired of doing his shit.
And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Help us get to 100K. We're almost at 90K. We're making a push here. But, as Hannah Banana said, atone for your sins, you filthy animals. That's right. Wash yourselves clean of that stench. Bow down before the YouTube overlords and help us keep the lights on around this place. Hey, we hate them, but this is what we have to do. You know what I mean?
True.
It's an algorithm thing. Anyway, dude, 8-game slate. Really fun slate, actually. But the Giannis news, shakes some shit up big time now.
As weird as it sounds, I don't think that it does.
Maybe I've been in NHA mode today because they hung everything for an hour after the Giannis news.
I mean, we're obviously going to get to it, but I think Milwaukee is borderline unplayable on DraftKings. There was some Drew was fine. Obviously, I didn't see any major priorities from the Bucks prior to this, and now I think that they're really easy to get away from. I actually think Draymond being questionable now and SGA being questionable are 2 bigger pieces of news. Giannis is 12-7 today. That's a big time price tag.
It really, I think it's more so just Drew here. I know he's relatively expensive, but without, especially given that we still haven't seen Middleton play more than 25 minutes, you would fit, and Connaughton doubtful as well. You would just think that Drew would have seen ample opportunity to do pretty much whatever he wanted if Giannis was out.
Yeah, he was a much better play. Unfortunately, I took an over on Drew's points prior to that upgrade.
I took the over on the threes, yeah.
Yeah, which is annoying. But, it's Drew Holiday. He can clearly still get that. It's just not as good of a bet.
I had the over on 2.5 threes, and then I hedged on under 21.5 points because you can still get there to both of them. But
sure.
What's that?
I'm just agreeing with you, unless Jordan's doing dumb shit behind the scenes.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. I only see you. I minimized the whole window, so I don't know what else is going on.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's get into some DFS and make this happen. We got 8 games to talk about. There is some injury news that we'll certainly be paying attention to, but let's kick it off with the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards. 226 total here. The Knicks on the road, 1.5-point dogs, possibly have Mitchell Robinson back. He's been out for an extended period of time. So I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes in terms of playing time, but that's something to keep an eye on. I think we'd probably start with guys like RJ Barrett at 5,700 on DraftKings. What do you want to do with the, I don't want to call them the big three, but like the Barrett, Randalls, and Brunson today?
It's not play them is what I want to do. Probably
what will you be doing?
Probably play a little bit of RJ Barrett, which is not an enjoyable process whatsoever because you just can't trust his playing time. One day he's going to go out there and play 38 minutes. The next day he's going to go out there and play 24 minutes. And even on the days where he plays, like, I feel like he'll play better in 24 than he does in 38. He's a roller coaster of emotions. He's a guy that I get to a lot. He's a guy that the public is getting to at least a little bit. We're seeing 12% ownership to Barrett right now, 10 to Randall, 10 to Brunson. That's about how I think it should look. I think Barrett is properly owned at 12%. I'm probably going to have a little bit of him. He's a 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, but he just feels so unappealing. I don't think there's anybody out there that rosters RJ Barrett and thinks like, oh, this is a great idea. We're talking about a guy with a 27% usage rate. Like, it's somehow he's just like empty calories, even though he's not. Like, he plays like PJ Tucker, but doesn't get PJ Tucker's stats. I can't wrap my head around it. He's like an enigma in this league.
He really is. And I mean, he's not expensive, but he's also not that great.
No.
And there's just, I don't know, there's so many quality options today that, like, does New York overall just appeal to you more as a sprinkle them in? If I get there, I get there, but I'm not prioritized, because that's kind of how it feels today.
Yeah, I don't see how you could look at anything from the Knicks and think like I should have a lot of that. Any Brunson you get, like, he's fine. He's a guy that can go for 50 plus. Same for Randall. You're looking for probably 35 plus out of Barrett. That's all fine given their prices. I don't think you can go to anybody else. If you want to get really weird and go to Mitchell Robinson, I think there's a path there. I mean, he was playing well north of 30 minutes prior to going down. He wasn't really participating all that well. He somehow like stopped being a 1 fantasy point per minute guy, but it was a broken thumb. There's no reason he can't go right back into the exact same role he had before that. We tend to assume that they're going to ease him slightly back in. You'll get like a 26-22 split with Hartenstein or 28-20, something like that. And he's not going to look all that great, but it's the Knicks. Would you be surprised at all if Mitchell Robinson played 36 minutes today? Because I certainly wouldn't.
No, not with that coach. I mean, it is tough though, because you want to talk about an enigma. He kind of was too before this injury, right? Like, yeah. Mitchell Robinson was a guy who, he's never been a scorer, right? If he gets points, they're on putbacks or the very infrequent lob or something like that. But he's not ever getting the ball. You're hoping that you get 8 to 10 points and then just monster rebound numbers, and also a handful of counting stats like blocks and steals. He needs the rebounds. He needs the blocks. Can he do it? Absolutely. But it's really hard when he's posting, like 4-point games, like 4 actual point games. You still need a little bit more than that.
Yeah, he's going to go for 3, 16, 1 assist, and 4 blocks. And it's just gonna be like, wow, what just happened? I hate this whole Knicks team. They're so good but bad at the same time. It's just very weird dynamic.
3 and 16 with an assist and 4 blocks. I could do that. I'd be okay with that.
2, 4, 6, 8.
I mean, that's a 30-some point game.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
not great, but it doesn't kill you.
No, look, it's not going to stop. Like, it's not going to be the reason you don't cash, at least.
On the Washington side, I mean, just a fully healthy Washington team right now. Beal was questionable. He's been cleared to play. They don't have a single player on the injury report. So, I mean, now you're just taking a team and you're going, all right, well, when all 3 of these guys are on the floor, Beal's got a 26% usage rate. Porzingis has a 25.5% usage rate. Kuzma has a 23% usage rate. Fantasy points per minute. You've got, with all 3 of them on the floor. I know they're not going to play every minute together, but 1.24 from Porzingis, 1.11 from Beal, 1.04 from Kuzma, Are any of these prices discounted enough to go, all right, you know what? Pretty decent play today.
I mean, Kuzma's decent, I guess. I don't want to oversell anybody early because there are some plays on today's slate that are like rubber stamp, look exceptional, no doubt about, like, they're not like lock button plays, but they're much closer to a lock button than anything we're seeing from the Knicks side or from the Washington side. Like, we've got 15% ownership going into Kuz, about 12 going to Beal. Are those guys, like, do they feel underpriced when you look at it? Yeah, kind of. They're both like 1.1 fantasy point per minute guys. They're both in that 27, 28% usage range. Same for Porzingis, but he's at 9,500. That's just a completely different scenario for today. If I'm getting to anybody, it's Kuzma. I got to 5% on my last run. That's actually less than what I had him coming out of my sim, but I just think there's more efficient ways to spend at small forward, power forward. And a matchup against the Knicks is just very rarely like a great fantasy outcome matchup. With this game being on an island at 7:00, I don't really mind having essentially no exposure to it and just hope I have the flexibility for everything else, especially with the way the 7:30 is looking, where we don't necessarily know if we're going to get that Giannis news.
Yeah, we'll keep a close watch on that. And you got live before lock coming up after this, so don't go anywhere. They're taking you up to lock and through lock. That's going to be Greg Ehrenberg and Neil Orfield taking you up through the 7:30 hour. And then, of course, talking a little No House Advantage post-lock show. Check that out. Stick with them. Cleveland, though. Cleveland going up on the road against the Atlanta Hawks, 227.5 total. It is a back-to-back. They're traveling from Cleveland to Atlanta, back-to-back days. But, I mean, they're coming off the All-Star break. So, I mean, these guys hadn't played in 8 days leading up to that. I'm not sure how concerned we should be there. I do think Mobley's somewhat interesting in a spot like this, just given that, you know, the matchup here is solid, particularly with John Collins out. Like, it's going to be, I think you could see some matchup issues for Atlanta in this front court. We'll see, but they will outsize them here for sure from a rebounding perspective.
Yeah.
Should be able to get some easy buckets. That's one thing that does kind of appeal to me with this front court against the Hawks.
Yeah, they look interesting. I'm not getting to as much as I would have expected, but they do grade out well. I think Jared Allen at 6,900, certainly a reasonable center option. We're going to have a bunch of those. It's every slate now. We just have a ton of different guys that can be run out there at center. Some pulling more ownership right now than others. Mobley and Allen had a lot more ownership this morning on the strategy show. This is significantly more reasonable to me. But I think the guy that you want to get to most here is Darius Garland, 7,700. He's only point guard eligible, so you'd like a little bit more flexibility, but he feels a lot like DeJounte Murray on the opposite side. And that's sort of the problem here. DeJounte Murray's 7% owned. He's got point guard, shooting guard. He's $200 more expensive. Garland on the opposite side, 18% owned. These guys aren't different. One is a 1.12 fantasy point per minute guy in my model. The other is 1.10. They've both been at like 1.15 over the past 30 days. I have them projected basically the same. They're going to play, but you would expect Murray probably plays like one more minute than Garland. I like Darius Garland more than anything else on Cleveland, but I also like his counterpart in this game more than him. And he's like the pivot. Ultimately, I'd like to play them both.
Okay. Who'd you say the counterpart was? You talking about
Murray?
Okay.
Because like they're basically the same price. Murray picks up the shooting guard eligibility as well, but from a point per minute perspective, these guys are not that different.
Yeah, no. And it's funny too, because you look at Mitchell, that price point over Garland. I think Mitchell's been better this year, but he's been 1.24 DraftKings points per minute. Garland's 1.15 DraftKings points per minute, and they're essentially playing, you know, just under 36 minutes per game on the year. So that's a big dip in price point when you factor that in. Yeah,
I don't ever want to say that Donovan Mitchell is unplayable, but at 9,700, I can't imagine getting to him today. 2% owned. That's just like full on. Okay, I just built the chalkiest lineup possible and I turned X into Mitchell, right, and now it's not as chalky. Like he's as bad of a point per dollar play as you can get at the top end. Like, can he score 40 real points? Like, of course, he's Donovan Mitchell. He's really good at basketball.
You have to actively force him into lineups if you're playing him tonight.
Yeah, I will have 0. There's no chance. There's a better chance that he doesn't even show up in a crunch.
Yeah. What about Atlanta with Collins out? Like Bogdanovich, Do you think he could get any? The problem is, though, they're going up against such a big front court that I wonder, like, because could you play some of these wings at the 4 position in certain matchups? Sure. Do you do that today? And plus, dude, you look at this. What are we going to have? Like Sadiq Bey getting a lot of minutes at the 4? It's a big mismatch there. How do you think they play that? Does it benefit anybody from a DFS perspective?
I think the most likely scenario is that it sort of solidifies Bogdanovic. I assume he closes in a competitive game. We saw Collins miss on Monday, February 13th, at which point Sadiq Bey got the start. I think we should probably assume that Bey starts again here. Bey came off with like 5 or 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then Bogdanovic came on and closed out the game. I sort of think that that's what we're going to see here. They just don't really have too many other options. You're bumping Deontay. Oh my God, I can't even talk. You're bumping DeAndre Hunter to the 4 in this scenario, and then basically playing Bogdanovic at the 3. I think you can handle that. I think he does look very interesting, particularly at just 7% ownership. I don't mind Capella at 5,900, just given where the center ownership is coming in today. He's going to play 28 minutes, barring any foul trouble. You just know exactly what you're getting here from Capella. Murray to Young is sort of like Garland to Mitchell, but Trae Young is a better fantasy guy than Donovan Mitchell is on a per minute basis. So I find it easier to get to Trae Young, but I also don't see him as like super viable, just another guy that you're willing to get to. He's just a step ahead of Mitchell at this point. Hunter's fine, but the 2 guys that I'm getting to are Capella and Bogdanovic, and I'm only getting to around 12% of both. So it's not as if I'm taking some gigantic stand. Atlanta's sort of a team where you just want to cast at least a little bit of a wide net with Murray. If you like Trae Young, by all means, I'm never going to tell you no. Hunter to a degree, who probably sees like an extra minute with no Collins. Bogdanovic, Capella. If you want to get sneaky, Sadiq Bey, assuming he starts, in theory, could close. Like, there's no reason they have to close with Bogdanovic. I have 3% Sadiq Bey if we need a reference point.
All right. So let's move on. I'm looking forward to getting to some of these other games too. Like, there's some interesting spots. There's actually, what's that?
You and me both.
Yeah, there's a player in this next game, right? That we got to talk about him. It's the Miami Heat. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm not talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not talking about Tyler Hero or Jimmy Butler. I'm talking about minimum salary Kevin Love. Like, can we get into this for a little bit? Because what if let's just lay the groundwork here. He is a fantasy point per minute player. He is. And I don't think that changes a lot. He's already gone from the slowest paced team in basketball, right? So that doesn't make a huge difference here.
No.
He is the dead min today. I understand that it's a massive risk, but it's 6%. We have him as one of the highest leverage plays in the boom bust tool, just because probably the uncertainty, but also fantasy point per minute guy at minimum salary. How many minutes are you projecting him for today?
I had him in at 18 earlier today. I bumped that down to 17 before the show started. It left me with 0 Kevin Love in my lineups. I was getting him earlier today. I have no confidence in this. My thought process was this. I'm giving him the backup center minutes, which is 12. So I'm kicking Orlando Robinson out of the rotation, putting in Kevin Love for, at a minimum, 12 minutes behind Bam. I would be shocked if they're doing something different there. Like, it would really surprise me if somehow I guess Orlando Robinson can stay in the rotation and you play Love at the 4 and then Highsmith goes away. I guess that's feasible too, but that also doesn't lead to like a ton of additional minutes for Love. The question you need to ask yourself is, how much do you think they play Kevin Love? 1, how ready is he to play? Because he has not been playing for a while. And 2, how many minutes do you think that they'll want to play him alongside of Bam Adebayo? He hasn't been shooting the ball all that well. He is absolutely unable to guard anybody at any point in time, anywhere. It's been a long time since he guarded Steph for 1 possession, but he's going to dine out on that for a while.
Dude, I don't know if you bring him onto this team without the intention of playing him at least a decent amount. And by a decent amount, I'm talking, 17, maybe 20 minutes. I also think when it comes to Kevin Love and just looking at this team, how much of it is just going to be entirely dependent on if he comes out there and he's knocking down threes, if he's knocking down shots.
I mean, if he's not doing that, he's not going to play a second for them. Then he provides absolutely nothing.
But that's exactly what I'm saying, because he's a huge defensive liability. But if you do get him out there, and it is one of those occasions where he's knocking shots down, you might get enough run at minimum salary from Kevin. Look, I'm not planting my flag here today. I just think it's an interesting topic because he's debuting tonight with Miami, and they priced him literally at the bare minimum. That's all.
It's an interesting dynamic. Look, like I said, I had a little bit more earlier today, and I'm going to keep a close eye on it. But this is a guy that was playing about 20 minutes a night, one way or the other, and has not played a basketball game in a month.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if they're just like letting him rip against the Bucks today, particularly if Giannis comes back. So I think like saying he goes out for the backup center run, they play a couple minutes alongside Bam just to see how that's working out. And, he starts to get his sea legs. There's no rush right now for them either. Like Kevin Love is not making or breaking anything. He's just adding to a depth section where they don't have Omer Yurtseven. They don't have, who am I missing? Nikola Jovic. Like they brought Cody Zeller in on a 10-day. They just don't have guys that play the 4 and the 5. And not like Kevin Love plays either of those particularly well at this point anyway, but he's filling a spot. And let's be clear here. It's pretty easy to want to take a buyout, get more money to sign with Miami. Most people don't do that. It's only happened like 5 or 6 times in the history of the NBA that they take a buyout and then acquire additional money. And oh, by the way, we've talked about this on the show before. He's leaving shitty ass Cleveland to go to Miami.
Dude, that's the ticket right there.
This dude's gets extra money to go to a slightly worse team, but to put his feet up on the beach for a bit. I mean, it's not a woe is me scenario, even if he doesn't play a single second.
Yeah, he already has a ring. You think he gives a shit if the team's better or worse at this point?
No, like he's happy that they're good. He's happy that they're going to be in the playoffs. But let's be clear here. Extra money and being able to hang out in Miami, I assume, is a very, very big factor, which it would be for me.
Yeah, you're damn right. Sports was said you're not winning with K-Love. Stop it, Laffy. Listen, I'm not saying you are. I just think it's an interesting spot because it's such a massive unknown. That's all I'm saying.
Look, he's going to be 8 to 12% owned by the best players in the world tonight.
Right. Yeah, they're going to have some.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of there's just an unknown quantity. We'll see. He might play 5 minutes. It's very possible that he plays 5 minutes,
He could be fully not able to play today.
Yeah.
I mean that sincerely. Like they might just have Orlando Robinson as the backup center and like Love plays his way. Like he gets ready by the beginning of March.
Do you like anybody else for Miami?
I like Tyler Hero, 7,300. He's like a 26% usage guy, 20% assist guy with no Kyle Lowry around. He's going to play 35, 36 minutes. You get positional flexibility. Sometimes you see his price go a bit higher. He's 6% owned. I got 10. Like that's the kind of guy that he is. By all means, play Jimmy Butler, play Bam Adebayo. This is just like talking about Kyle Kuzma or Garland or Mitchell or Trae Young. It's just when you are a star and no one can affect your minutes, you are in some way available for that day to be rostered. You're just not a priority.
How about the other side of this, man? You're right. Like Milwaukee's virtually unplayable today. And it's not just because, well, hold on. Let me preface this with assuming Giannis is active. You guys that have been playing NBA DFS, you know that when a guy goes from doubtful to questionable, usually when something like that happens, there's a good chance they play. If they go from probable to questionable or they're not on the injury report and then 4 p.m. they're questionable, usually a good chance they don't play. So pay attention to it. Right now we have Giannis projected in, but you have a lot of these guys priced for Giannis to be out. And then I'll throw another wrench into the works, Josh. Jay Crowder makes his Bucks debut today, and Bobby Portis is back. So, like, what the hell else can you even do with this team, especially if Giannis is active?
I don't have a single share. I run my dummy crunch. I have my 150. If I had to enter these lineups right now, I would not have a single share of anyone on the Bucks. They all look downright awful to me. If Giannis is in, you can't play anybody. I mean, like you can play Giannis for sure, but 12-7, that's no picnic in a terrible matchup from a DFS perspective. Like I have him projected for, hold on, 1.72 fantasy points per minute. And I just have to look at it and be like, that's a tough sell.
Yeah, it is.
Like that's just it's not much else to say. He's pulling basically he'll be like 2% owned because he's Giannis.
Exactly. Yeah, and only because he's Giannis. Everyone hates Chris in chat said that He still has some interest in Middleton. Middleton's interesting to me only because he's coming back from the All-Star break. Maybe you see his minutes like ramped up to 30, but that's a huge maybe because we haven't seen him above 25. At 6,300, with assuming Giannis is active, at 6,300, and also assuming that his minutes don't get ramped up considerably and he's still in the mid-20s, that's also a very tough sell. But I will be keeping a close eye to see what happens to his minutes coming off the All-Star break.
I look at it like this. I think the ceiling really for Middleton today is 28 minutes. When you look at Chris Middleton today, and it's a weird way to say this because every single person in your lineup has to have an outlier day for you to win that tournament, essentially. We're talking about like the big GPP on DraftKings, but I mean, we're talking about looking at Middleton and saying like, okay, well, not only do I need to hope that he plays like 2 more minutes than everybody's going to project him for, but I need him to just shoot the lights out, basically. I just don't see it in this spot. You're just going to find better $6,300 options. Will there be one person from the Bucks today that provides value and a viable score? Yeah, probably. That's just like how the math works. But to look at anybody here, this is very clearly the worst team on the slate. If Giannis is playing. If he's not playing, then, get to Drew, get to Grayson Allen, get to Javon Carter, get to a little bit of Middleton. Yeah. With Giannis in, everything goes away.
Would you go to any Brook Lopez, just given that they've got some reinforcements here now, but would you go to any Brook Lopez if Giannis is out?
Not really. I mean, he's always just in the mix there with the guys that are around him. But you're going to, you got Jared Allen a couple $100 more than that. You got Nick Claxton at 6,400. That's probably going to look very similar. Not getting any ownership. 6K Mark Williams, Capella. There's too many guys in that range. It's not again, no one's taking Brook Lopez's minutes away. He's going to play 30, 31 minutes, whether Giannis is in or out. He's always viable, but he's like a 2%er.
Let's talk Brooklyn and Chicago. Before we do though, let's get in on some no house advantage action, man. I already threw a card out there. You got any cards for today?
I have a gorgeous video that is on our Odd Shopper channel, hanging out of a 4-prop parlay that's out there. So that has been up for a couple hours. Hit the Twitter feed if you want to see that. Might get another one out. It's going to depend on how the news is looking. Like after we're done this show, I'll post my contenders updates to my Twitter feed. And then if I have time to look through No House Advantage and put out another card, you will find it on my Twitter. If news breaks, then nope.
Yeah. I got Drew Holiday under 21.5 points. Anthony Edwards over 5.5 rebounds. I like that spot quite a bit today. I like Kawhi over 1.5 threes today too. I'm very interested to see this match. Fast-paced spot. Westbrook starting was going to be mighty interesting as well. But look, say what you want about the guy. He is still a better facilitator than anybody that they've had on this team. Like, hands down. Say anything you want about his shooting. I won't disagree with you. The shot selection, I won't disagree. But he's certainly better than Mann or Reggie Jackson as playmakers at this stage. But yeah, no house advantage. First of all, use the link if you're going to sign up. And it's legal in all of the non-legal betting states as well. So that's huge. Like California, you got it. All these states that think that they should be telling you how to live your own lives, right? Screw them people, Judge. We don't need government telling us what to do with our own money and what to do with no. Get them out of here. Out of all of our decisions. But no house advantage, like, all right, dude, well, you can use no house advantage. And we say, all right. I got it in PA too, which is awesome because PA is a legal betting state. But if you go, you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 picks against the house. If you hit 5, you're 21xing. Yesterday was sick because the Ja Morant free square, legit free square, over 0.5 point. Keep an eye out for that type of stuff. I've been doing more 3 and 4s, but there's a million different ways you can do it. And hey, Josh, you use the deposit, you use the link, you're getting 100% deposit bonus up to $100. So if you deposit 100, your account says 200. If you deposit 50, your account says 100. Beautiful out of the gate, just doubling up before you start.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like going 4. I think that's going to be my wheelhouse. 4 seems like the
sweet spot.
Yeah, and that's not just for like a video sake or anything. On my own, I'll be going 4 primarily. I think it's the best value that you're going to find. I mean, going 5 is also a fantastic value, but you're going to lose very, very, very frequently. Yeah. And, that you're going to have bigger swings. So if you're prepared for that mentally, that's fine. But I think 4 is just going to leave you a little bit happier. Unfortunately for me, I took Josh Giddey under 17.5 points on my video earlier today. SGA now questionable. That was not news that I had. So
yeah, that's not great. I took Holiday under 2 or over 2.5 threes, and Giannis is now questionable. So yeah,
I was in the middle of recording. I recorded my Jabari Smith portion over 13.5 points. So I record all 4. Then I look at my other window, I click them, I add them, and I grab my screen grab so I can put it on the screen and show everybody like, hey, I actually did do this as well. In the time it took me to record those 4 and get to Jabari Smith, they moved the line 2 points. Yeah. I still had it as a no-brainer over. So I let everybody know, look, the line's moving in my direction. I was obviously right out of the gate. But yeah, I lost 2 points in 10 minutes.
Oh.
I clicked it and they were just like, this line isn't there anymore. And I was like, fucking what? So I went back. I was like 15.5, not even just 1 more point.
Yeah, no. Yeah. 2. That's brutal. But yeah, man, check it out. Also, if you were okay, so let's say you tailed Josh's card or my card yesterday and you won, you're 11xing. So you could lose a lot and still be up money.
If I dump the next 9 of them for you and you bet the same amount on all of them, you're still to the good. You're going to be calling me every name in the book by the end of the 9th one, but you still have more money in your pocket than you did prior to that.
Last thing I'll say on this, because we got to move on, but it's fun. It's fun to have people sweat it with us. You know what I mean? Because you're not giving out a DFS lineup and being like, sweat this lineup with me. But with this, there's no downside to you and me sweating the same thing with everybody else. We all win. I don't want you to have my DFS lineup. That's what I'm saying. Actively hurts me. Right. Unless we're playing a cash game, but that's a different kind of conversation for right now. For this, let's all beat up the books together. Why not? Hell yeah, dude. Get your deposit bonus. Let's sweat some of these cards and have some fun. No House Advantage, sponsor the Deeper Dive. Yeah, let's take them for what they got. All right. Sure, they love me saying that. All right. So,
I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, damn right. Damn right.
I mean, I don't think they're going to the good messaging would be let's bring all the suckers in, but
exactly. I was going to say we'd be real charlatans saying anything otherwise. Yeah.
We're bringing you in so you lose to them and we get more money.
We hit up No House Advantage after did you like that, Reeb? Yeah. How about not bad, huh? Yeah. Wink. All right.
Brooklyn, we're fishing with dynamite out here.
What do you want to do with the Brooklyn Nets today? 2-point dogs against Chicago. That's actually kind of surprising to me. I thought the Nets would be favored here against Chicago. Chicago's just been so bad. Ben Simmons is questionable. Dinwiddie's somewhat interesting. If Simmons doesn't play, they really don't have playmakers in this offense. They really don't have any other playmakers. I feel like that big double-double game for Dinwiddie could be coming down the pike pretty soon.
I'm with you. I am 2xing Spencer Dinwiddie right now. He hasn't seen the usage that you would expect him to see in the same way that he saw it when Luka was off in Dallas. But I think a little bit of that is just the fact that Mikal Bridges went absolutely batshit insane in one game. So Dinwiddie sort of had to take on a side role. But I think that usage creeps up from what we've seen so far in Brooklyn. I like him. I also like Cam Johnson. Got up to 34 minutes in that final game before the deadline. I've been waiting for him. I've been projecting him a little bit higher than everybody else in the industry and playing a lot more than of Cam Johnson on a day-to-day basis. And sure enough, he did it on the final day, on a day that I wasn't even involved in the slate, which really pisses me off. But he's 4% owned. I gave him 29 minutes, but he's live to play 4 or 5 more if this one's competitive. And based on the line, it's going to be one of the more competitive games you'll find. It's not like you're worried about Chicago. So Dinwiddie and Cam Johnson are the 2 guys that stand out most to me. I don't really love the idea of going to Bridges, but if you believe in the additional usage, if you think he's just going to be a different guy, it's worth rolling the dice at no ownership. If you think that Claxton gets back to 30 to 32 minutes at center instead of the trickle down that we've seen as of late, 3% owned Claxton is certainly viable here. There's more upside in Brooklyn, but these guys are all just very strictly GPP plays.
Plan B smoothies. I want to clear something up. So Josh just said it. If y'all think these free podcasts are to get us money, they ain't. They ain't giving you all the guys, and some of the guys they say they ain't playing, they play over 50%. That's not what he was saying at all by he doesn't want you at the same line. I know, dude, I know for a fact him and Adam and these guys don't hold back anything. What he's saying is he's not going to give you his 150 lineups in the 15 Because that would be like, would you do
I'm
that?
costing myself literal money. That is literal equity. If I know that I'm duping with someone, that lineup is basically a piece of shit in the NBA at that point.
But if I'm super passionate about this. Like, if you think any of these guys are trying to mislead you, that's flat out lies.
I mean, I've shared my screen in the DFS space for 5+ years now and have shown people everything that I do. I tell everybody every single exposure that I have. If you want to know them before lock, I'm happy to do it. You're not
building their lineups for them. That's what I'm saying. Like, let me put it to you this way, right? It's, people have said, I always love the accusations like, they're misleading people so they can change ownership. First of all, we don't affect ownership like that. Second of all, that would be the worst business model ever, because if we give out bad information intentionally, people stop watching.
I also have very little interest in doing work twice. I don't want to prepare the entire opposite script of everything that I want to say. I barely want to read the screen of the numbers that I have right now. Like, I have 12% Spencer Dinwiddie, 12.7% Cam Johnson, 1.3% Nick Claxton. I'll happily say every one of those numbers for every team, for every show that I do for the rest of my life, because it doesn't really matter to me. There's 75 other 150 maxers that are going to be out there today doing something slightly different. Like, it's not all that valuable. The best I can do is tell you what I'm doing, and I have no incentive to lie about it because it doesn't matter to me.
No. But like, you and I fuck around a lot, but you have to have some integrity. Otherwise, like, you can find plenty of them out there on Twitter that don't. I promise you, there's plenty of them.
Yeah, I could do way scummier content if I wanted to.
That's what I'm saying. All right. Plus, no one wants to put their name behind something that makes them look like an asshole anyway.
No.
Anything else for Brooklyn?
No.
What about the Bulls today? Because DeRozan's healthy. So, essentially you've got him, Levine, and Vooch all back. None of, like, DeRozan's 7,800. I guess that's mildly interesting against Brooklyn in what should be a competitive game, 2-point spread. Like, that's kind of interesting at 7,800. Not a horrible price point.
I love them. We got them projected for 7% ownership. Here you go, Plan B Smoothies, who I'm going to sit on that one for a bit. I've got 27% DeMar DeRozan. I'm 4xing the field there. I love him. I don't know why he's not getting represented anymore. He's got the MPE, which for a lot of the time he does not have. Sub 8K price tag. Like, this is a guy that is sometimes 9K plus. Why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that right now? I think he's one of the most under-owned guys on today's slate. Unless you have some reason where you think that he's not going to just immediately come back in here and play 36 minutes like he does every single time that he plays, or more, keep in mind. Like, there's upside in that number. I think he's the most underrepresented guy on today's slate.
It feels that way. I mean, that's 7%. What do we have him at in the boom bust tool? Let's see.
That's a great question. I know what I have him in my boom bust tool.
We have him with positive leverage. So yeah, we have him with some positive leverage. We also have, like, guys like Drummond with positive leverage, but that's just one of those spots where it's still a low probability optimal play.
Yeah.
But just because he's so low owned, he's going to look good from a leverage score perspective. But optimal percentage isn't that high on really anybody at all from Chicago.
Like, you kind of just assume that one of DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch is going to have a game where they go for like 50 fantasy points. And, it seems basically likely that it's an even split of how likely those guys are to do it. But DeMar DeRozan's the cheapest one by a mile.
Right.
Sign me up for DeRozan.
Exactly. All right. Well, tell me this. You want to move on to Chicago, or you got anything else from Charlotte, or you got anything else from Chicago?
Let's go to Charlotte, because we're going to have to talk a lot about Minnesota.
Okay. Mitchell Robinson, game time decision. Just making sure we are good to go. We're good to go. All right, let's do it. And hey, stick around afterwards. We got Live Before Lock coming up next. We're 296 likes, 204 away from 500, now 203. Josh, I believe of the 2,000 people that are here, there are 200 people kind enough to hit that thumbs up. Those who believe that we are not intentionally leading them astray.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been leading them astray for 8 years at this point. So yeah, I think you guys can trust me on
That'd be
this
a
one.
solid
Hit
grift,
the thumbs up.
man. That'd be a solid grift. You'd be like the Mike Lindell of DFS. I bet you don't even know who that is.
Is he the sniper that got Obama or whatever?
The sniper that got Obama?
Whatever. Osama bin Laden. I don't know, man. No.
Some people say that guy's lying too. No, old Mike Lindell is. If you haven't tried out My Pillow, homemade in the home state of Minnesota.
Oh, the My Pillow guy. Got it.
The Giza Dream Sheets, the best cotton found in between the Nile River and the Sahara Desert. Yeah, he's the dude. Best. I'm telling you guys, best grifter in the world. He just targets old people. Okay, and every day he's either got slippers or coffee or sheets or. I'm telling you, the grift game is better than anything you've ever seen in your life.
You think he's better than Randall?
See, I'm not getting into that with you, man. Randall never did nothing to me. Never did nothing to me.
He's an author.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, it is what. By the way, I'm not getting political with you guys. This is just funny because the grift game. Don't you think you have to respect a good grift game? I think you do.
Yeah, I don't begrudge anybody that. Like, I'd probably want to get out while the getting's good and not try to like double down on most of my grifts. Like just take the money when you got it. Don't try to come up. Don't try to keep that going too long. But I get it. Look, it's always going to exist. Somebody's going to take that money.
Dude, exactly. Someone's going to. Now, look, I'm not saying I would do it. I don't condone it. But I look back at some of these people and I go, man, like they found the sweet spot. You know, found the sweet spot. Yeah.
I mean, this industry is rife with them too.
Yep. Yeah.
Most of them suck.
What?
Most of the scam artists in this industry can't really exist any longer.
No, exactly. Hey, listen, I'm saying I don't like it. I don't condone it. But in a way, you have to look back and go, man, wish I thought of that. I'm kidding. But,
I mean, there were times where I was thinking to myself, like, should I just sell lineups on Twitter and just make a shit ton of money quickly?
But it's so grimy. Yeah.
I would feel disgusting.
Exactly.
I'd feel disgusting.
It's so grimy. You couldn't lay your head down on a My Pillow and fall asleep every night. Plan B smoothie. Sorry, love you all. I know you do, man. You've been hanging with us forever. I wasn't taking it personally. I just was just saying to Chad that you're not going to give us everyone and they shouldn't expect it. No hate and most importantly, happy birthday, Laffy. Thanks. Now, listen, we'll give you everybody that we like. It's just a matter of like, you still have to build lineups. That's what it comes down to. And then a super chat, $10 from UNMNU University, New Money Mercy Crypto Life. Thanks, man. If you have a question, hit us with it. All right. We got to.
Did we just get money from a bot for the first time ever?
All right. And we will get.
They send us $9, but we now need to send them more money in the long run.
Right. Yeah. Just a little bit of crypto, and we'll send you 9 ETH back. Yeah. Hey,
I almost bid on one of those on Discord right when it first started.
Yeah. I remember.
I was like, I think I won something.
No, you DM'd me and you're like, "Hey, this isn't legit, right?" And I said, "Don't give them your address." Yeah.
Well, I started searching around and I was like, "This looks like semi-reputable," and it was not reputable.
They're sneaky, man. I get these things.
I didn't need it. It was very easy for me to lose it on my own.
Right. All right. What do you want to do with the Hornets today?
Nothing. Mostly.
Sorry, I had to pivot back hard because we have 4 games to go here.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, you and I should never be on the deeper dive together.
Dude, we need runway and we need no hard out ever.
Yeah. We could have started the show at 4:00 and we'd still be in the same spot. We would have spent a lot more time on the My Pillow guy.
Well, dude, that's the problem. We'll go, all right, we got a good hour. There's only 3 games. We can take our time. And that gets into trouble. All right, Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, look, LaMelo Ball is probably too expensive at $11K. Feel free to play LaMelo Ball if you want. The game environment here is fantastic, but we're getting Kelly Oubre back, and that dude likes to shoot. Gordon Hayward's already back playing 30-plus minutes. While that guy doesn't like to shoot, he's certainly a part of the offense. PJ Washington isn't going anywhere. Terry Rozier is not going anywhere. LaMelo Ball is not going anywhere. I'm actually surprised that Terry Rozier is at 13% ownership. I took his under in a different video that I guess I shouldn't reference on this particular show, but you could watch it at oddshopper.com's YouTube channel. I have a very hard time wanting to get to anything from Charlotte. I got 6% of Mark Williams. He's a completely reasonable center to get to that could play anywhere from 28 to 30 minutes. If you want to get to Ball, Rozier, like if you're playing a bunch of Minnesota, which you should be, I understand if you want to get to Ball, Rozier, PJ Washington, like if you want to have a run back sort of, very viable to me. But I don't think that any of these guys on their own look like really good DFS plays. I don't have any. I don't have Ball, Rozier, Washington,
Okay.
Hayward. I have none of it. Sorry, that's a lie. I have 1 share of PJ Washington. I won't Plan B smoothies yelling at me. Yep, that's it.
On Minnesota, look, this is a nice spot for Minnesota. I guess you just have to, like, from the prop game, talking no house advantage earlier, it doesn't always translate to the overs, don't always translate to DFS. But today, though, it's not shocking that you're seeing ownership coming to this team. It's really not. I mean, 241.5 total. The Charlotte Hornets, just defensively, they're a poor rebounding team. There's a lot of potential here. Where do you want to start?
I got to start at the top with the play that I'm going to have in more lineups than anything else. Anthony Edwards is the best overall play for today.
That's my number 1 prop on NHA today too, over rebounds.
He is projected for 32% ownership. He is in 93% of my lineups right now. Look, shooting guard, small forward, you can't get better eligibility than that. So we can just start there and immediately like that. But here's the real key. He is 9,100 in, let's just call it the best matchup that you can get. I think that's a safe thing to say. Charlotte's terrible. They're terrible. He was 10K on February 10th. He was 10K on February 7th. This is a guy that has been more expensive than this by multiple hundreds of dollars. And now, with no changes whatsoever to his team, I guess he brought in Mike Conley, who's going to shoot less than D'Angelo Russell did. Yeah. I don't even think this is close. I want all of the Anthony Edwards as much as I can get. If it ends up at 100%, I will not be mad at all. If he fails, whatever. I feel like that is the best way to get your money in the middle today.
I'm with you. He's going to play, in a close game, 37 minutes.
Yep.
He's got a 30% usage rate, 20% assist rate. Sometimes the peripherals lag, but in a fast-paced spot like this, I think the peripherals are going to be plentiful, not just for him, but guys like Rudy Gobert as well. I mean, take it down the line. I think most of Minnesota is very, very much in play today.
Oh, yeah. I've got 20% of Gobert, 20% of McDaniels, 20% of slow-mo. I had way more slow-mo earlier today. I took 1 minute down to 29, but I probably am going to end up giving that minute back. We got Taurean Prince listed as questionable midway through the day. If he ends up out, I think that really solidifies Kyle Anderson into 30 to 34 minutes today, which is even more interesting. So I'm probably going to give him that extra minute. I'm actually getting to Taurean Prince at 3,300. I don't love that, and I don't think he's going to play. I'm probably going to do something to mitigate that. I don't want to have to swap off a decent chunk of Taurean Prince. That seems like a not fun thing that I'd have to do. But let's just get the key stuff out of the way. Play as much Anthony Edwards as you can get. By all means, play a bunch of Rudy Gobert, who looks good. He's chalk. Play Kyle Anderson. Those 3 guys you don't have to really stress about. Jaden McDaniels, I don't think you really have to stress about either. Play 15 to 20% if you want. Mike Conley looks completely reasonable. Better situation for him in Minnesota. Certainly has pick and roll chemistry with Rudy Gobert. We've already seen that happen. I don't love the 13% ownership going to Naz Reid. That's just weird to me, but clearly, if you don't have Rudy Gobert in a lineup, there's a path to Naz Reid just getting out there and playing bigger minutes. But Minnesota's the best team on the slate, I think, or at least maybe tied for first.
Hey, this comment will make you happy. So our friend who we thought was a bot that super chatted us, he said, I obviously don't know what I'm doing with super chats. Thanks for the shout out. Loughran and Engleman on Live Before Lock, pump me up. You all plus Rasa during the COVID shutdown got me through life. I don't have a question. Just appreciate what you do for us fantasy degens. Hope one of us wins big tonight. God bless, friends. Yeah, dude, that was one of the oddest but most enjoyable times in recent memory for me doing the NBA 2K Sims. We had a blast, dude.
It was fun. I barely remember it now, which is kind of a bummer. Yeah, I had a lot of alcohol for COVID. I was trying to keep the COVID at bay by drowning it in booze.
We had fun though, man. That was so. We gave $10,000 out to someone on a draft of our own money on an NBA 2K simulation, and almost everybody got wiped out because the Bulls lost in the first round.
Oh, so great. We giving out grills and TVs and all sorts of ridiculous nonsense.
Barnacle of the Bay. We had one guy that won like 6 times.
Yeah. I wish I could remember what his username was. And then the entry name started to become really ridiculous,
like sex names. It was sex position, like the Dirty Sanchez Alaska Pipeline type stuff. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Houston and Golden State. Kevin Porter, and appreciate that, man. It means a lot because that was a tough time for all of us. We were just trying to figure something out. And I'm glad you guys liked it. Houston and Golden State. No Jalen Green today. No Kevin Porter. I mean, at this stage of the game, Houston is going to be one of maybe the most popular teams collectively as far as ownership goes today.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a really big conversation here. We probably burned too much time doing dumb shit.
That conversation a little bit short because.
So everybody's sort of pulling ownership here. Şengün's at 35. Completely agree with it. He's in half of my lineups. Jabari Smith is 13% owned. I think that I'm way higher on him than the rest of the industry. I've got him in 40% of my lineups. Ty Washington, flat minimum, probably has to play around 24 minutes. Just an interesting value play. More interesting to, like, you know, there's more upside there than Kevin Love, I think. Tari Eason's getting 25% ownership. Feels a little high. Totally get it. 3,900. Josh Christopher is like the play du jour from Houston. And now is where we're going to have this conversation. So we have Josh Christopher projected for 53% ownership. We have Daishen Nix projected for none. I think Daishen Nix is the starter for Houston, and I don't understand why everybody else doesn't feel the same way. He starts when Jalen Green isn't around. Like, that just happens. We've seen it happen already. Daishen Nix has started 5 games this season. Daishen Nix, in those 5 starts, he's played 29 minutes as an average. He's played 145 minutes in 5 games. Eric Gordon was still around at that point. This makes it even easier to me that you get to Nix in that scenario. These are not like Jalen Green's played 22 minutes in games that he started. KPJ hasn't been around for them. It's this scenario right here. So I'm really surprised that this isn't just like the prevailing wisdom that he is starting here. Could he not start? Yeah, it's Houston. They're absolutely awful and have nothing to play for. They can start Ty Washington. They can start Josh Christopher. There's probably 2 or 3 other random morons on Houston that I don't even know that they could start today, and it would be totally reasonable. But everything that we've seen before leads me to believe that Daishen Nix is starting today.
So if you were prioritizing these guys, just to kind of simplify this and give these guys the information without, prolonging this so we can get out on time, schedule makers fucked up. Let's be honest,
Yeah.
But it's not our fault.
No.
How would you prioritize Houston?
Alperen Şengün, number 1 with a bullet. To me, Jabari Smith, number 2. I guess I have to say Josh Christopher, because he grades out well for me, even in 23 minutes, because he's shooting guard small forward and he's 3,300. And I just think he's going to play at a minimum like 20 minutes and upwards of 28. So like his value makes sense to me. 50% ownership doesn't necessarily make sense if he's not starting. But he's a good play no matter what, because he's just a part of this rotation. So those 3 guys, to me, are the easiest things to get to. Ty Washington, I think, is just going to play somewhere in that 20 to 20. Again, who's starting matters here. That is the answer to all of these questions. If Daishen Nix is starting, he's the flat 3K, shooting guard eligible. He's a 0.7 fantasy point per minute guy that we're projecting for no ownership. Now, that'll change if he ends up starting. But I've got Daishen Nix as in a baseline rate, 0.7 in my model. I've Ty Washington at 0.74. So we need to pump the brakes on how one's better than the other. They're probably going to play comparable minutes if I'm right and Nix is starting. So think about it through that lens. I think Josh Christopher is a better play than both of these guys. I think Josh Christopher is a better play than Nix, even with me projecting Nix for 27 minutes in the starting lineup. So Josh Christopher can actually score fantasy points. Nix does not do that. Like I said, I gave Nix 27 minutes. I'm going forward with the assumption that he's starting.
Okay. That's a solid breakdown, knowing that we're short on time here. Golden State on the other side, it was pretty straightforward, but now Draymond Green's questionable, so that could change some things up if he ends up being out, because Curry and Wiggins are already out.
I hate this. This is real tricky. If Draymond ends up out, the trickle down here really does create some value, and honestly, creates a lot of value that, while it's going to end up being a little bit more expensive, is probably more interesting than the Houston value, who has to go up against Golden State, because at least Golden State's still playing real NBA players on the opposite side. Yeah. Like Kevon Looney probably has to end up playing 26, 28 minutes in that sort of scenario. He'll look a lot better. Anthony Lamb is the flat 3K. He's already pulling about 10% ownership. You would think that would jump up. We saw Kuminga get the start in their most recent game, which was yesterday, by the way, played 25 minutes, power forward center, 4,200, getting 4% ownership. That skyrockets. But the guy that I'm most interested in here, why is everybody sleeping on Jordan Poole? This is the guy that gets to face Houston. They're awful, clear across the board, offense, defense, whatever. And for some reason, Jordan Poole's price dropped dramatically since yesterday. He's got
what was
the
it,
MPE
9,100 or something yesterday?
Yeah, now he's 8,300. This is a guy with a 35% usage rate when Steph's not around. This makes no sense to me. He's fantastic today. You can't ask for a better matchup, and the price is down. 14% ownership is nuts. I have that inverted. I've got 41 of Jordan Poole.
He has a 36.5 points, rebounds, and assist prop today. Like,
what is it?
36.5 PRA.
I got him at 38.3. So, like, even if you just want to say I'm slightly high,
it's still a nice number.
I usually am, but it's I'm like that's barely off. He's a great play at 8,300.
I agree. Anything else you want to? Well, let's let Live Before Lock cover the Draymond scenario, because they're going to come up next and they won't go game by game. They'll hit on the important stuff here. Sure. Let's make sure that we get everything we can for everybody before we go. Talk OKC. Also, I saw someone mention that he just used a lineup generator, cast 10 of 17 lineups. I love it. Look, we've had some huge winners with the lineup generator. It's half off for your first week, less than $4.50 for the week. The way I look at it, if you want to really simplify things, Josh, even if you're playing like $2-3 a day and you try this out for $4.48 for the first week, even if you don't like it, you're down less than $5. Like, you're down less than a coffee costs at most places at these points. You can late swap, you can lock players in. You can swap players, like I said. You can export the CSV. It's optimized for mobile. I don't know. I'm excited about this ever since we put it out. So I like to talk it up because it's an awesome, awesome tool, especially for people that don't have time to sit around and research all day.
It's an amazing trial balloon to just get in there for a week at 50% off if you want to, but it's just going to save you so much time and like hand wringing of trying to figure out a lineup. We're taking thousands and thousands and thousands of lineup and just throwing everything that we think is garbage in the garbage, and then only presenting you with lineups that we deem to be good. If you don't like that particular lineup, you just click discard and another one pops up. And you can do that over and over and over and over again. And even if you like one and you're just like, I feel like that piece is a little weird, you're one button click away from flipping that guy out into somebody else. It's all right there for you. The ease of use is massive. And
you're seeing where these lineups project as far as being optimal. You're seeing where the ownership is projected against the field, all of that. So links in the description. Jordan can throw it in the chat. Less than $4.50 for your first week. I think you guys will like it for sure. All right. Talk to me about OKC. The SGA news, second of a back-to-back on the road, definitely looms large here.
Look, if SGA is out, it really changes the scope for Josh Giddey, for Lou Dort. I mean, these are guys that are going to take Lou Dort with SGA off gets massive usage bumps. And I'm already getting to Dort. I gave him 30 minutes. He played 36 yesterday in OT. Call it 31. The days of him playing 20 to 24 before the break are over. It appears to me that he's just back into the normal starter run that we've always known for him. I just think he was limited from the injury prior. So I like Dort already with SGA in. That interest goes up dramatically if he's out. Your guess is as good as mine what we want to do after that. I assume we become interested in Trey Mann, point guard, shooting guard eligible, flat 3K. I guess he plays more minutes, but this is the Thunder. You kind of just need to wait until you find out who's in and late swap. I'll say this much. I'm not getting Shea in right now at 10-2. So it's not like I'm going to have to get off of Shea. What I'm going to have to do is just swap into whoever ends up starting for the Thunder, which my assumption would be Trey Mann. It could be Isaiah Joe if you're just going to let Giddey run everything, but get Dort. I think no matter what, he's 13% owned already. So the path is already there. Play a little Giddey if you'd like. That price has come down. I don't have much interest in anything else here. Take a run at Jalen Williams at 3,400, but I think you're just going to find better center options. If Shea's out though, it just opens up more by default.
If Shea is out though, quickly, does Josh Giddey become a top mid-range option for you?
Yeah, has to. 7,500 point guard, shooting guard, bumps across the board here.
Taking a 30% usage guy off the floor, massive.
I certainly think Dort is a better play than Giddey no matter what in these scenarios, whether SGA is in or out, but Giddey just becomes someone you actually want to get to, not the 5% owned guy that he is.
What about Phoenix?
Ooh, so for Phoenix, interesting spot here. Booker, Paul, Ayton, Okogie, all like 15-ish% owned, and I kind of just agree with it. I like Chris Paul the least, but I generally do like Chris Paul the least. I'm getting about 10 to 15 on Booker, Ayton, Okogie, get a little bit of Torrey Craig. There's not much to say here. If you're not playing one of the starters, you're not playing anybody from Phoenix. Looks like they might be getting Cam Payne back as well. So that's just another guy that's going to take some shots. It's a great pace up spot against Oklahoma City. I wouldn't prioritize anyone from the Suns, but any one of those three main Booker, Paul, Ayton guys, plus Josh Okogie, who's playing massive minutes now that the trade has gone down, he's going to look good until Kevin Durant comes back.
All right, ready to wrap this one up? See what we kind of got there. I mean, we're a little bit over, but
yeah,
that just gives us, with the 2,500 people watching, just gives us 1 or 2 more minutes to get those 40 likes to push us up north of 500. That's why we do this. It's all calculated.
Absolutely.
Right. Sacramento, LA Clippers, 238 total in this game. Russell Westbrook's expected to start for the Clippers, so that is mighty interesting there. I'll let you cover Sacramento, but I'd prefer if you just hit both teams at once. I do think Mason Plumlee could be interesting. Zubac was playing a lot of minutes. Okay. Yeah. So if Mason Plumlee was getting those backup minutes, I think there's a non-zero chance that he plays 30 minutes tonight.
I gave him 27 and I got him in 16% of my lineups, just like the public.
And I think he could play more. I think he could play more than that.
He certainly could. They don't have Moses Brown any longer. They do have Moussa Diabate, but it's not like they break that in case of emergency all that frequently. So I think Plumlee looks good. I think Marcus Morris for 3,800 at 4% ownership makes no sense to me. If he's 3,800 and 4% owned, why in the world are people going to Kevin Love? Like, I get that they're not the same per minute guys, but like Marcus Morris is a starter for the Clippers. Paul George at 8,200, shooting guard, small forward, is just like a comically stupid price. I got 25% there. I'm honestly surprised that I don't have more. I don't know why he's not getting owned more either. It's a matchup against the Kings. Their defense is awful. This is a great environment. And then Russell Westbrook is 5% owned right now, $7,100 point guard. And unfortunately for me, he's in 20% of my lineups. I don't want this in any way, but if he's starting, I assume he's playing 28 plus minutes. And I think he's a good play. Like, it's disgusting to want to do it, but I'm apparently doing it.
Great matchup, though.
It is. It is.
You like anything from the Kings? We got to go.
I don't. As of right now, I have 4% of Harrison Barnes, the Barnacle of the Bay.
Yeah, BOTB, baby.
And then I have 1 share of Sabonis. Like, this is a terrible matchup for them. They're on a back-to-back, and these guys are always priced like exactly where they should be.
Last question from Avi Sher. With the super chat. Thanks, Avi. Dort over Okogie on FanDuel? ?
I have Okogie projected for 29.7 fantasy points on FanDuel. I have Dort at 24.8. So Okogie for sure right now. If SGA gets ruled out, that probably becomes a coin flip. So then I would start looking at ownership.
500 on the nose, baby. You guys are the best. Knew we'd get there. Appreciate you. Hey, have a good weekend too. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Laffy_D. Remember, no house advantage. Click that link, get the deposit bonus. Let's sweat these together tonight. Have a little bit of fun tonight through the weekend. Go in strong. Stick around. Live Before Lock. Greg and Neil coming up next. Peace.
I tried.
Yo, it's that time of week again where we're inducting you fine people into the Hall of Fame right here at Stokastic and giving away some free monthly memberships of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. And we got a ton of monster winners this week. Also, some people with some great success with that lineup generator and all the tools, even in NHL with the NBA during the All-Star break. Let's dive into this. All you got to do if you want to get that free month, you want to get inducted into the Hall of Fame, download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar, then tweet your screenshot of your wins. And maybe you want to say something nice, maybe you don't, that's okay. Make sure they go to @StokasticHOF. Get that free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Get up here, inducted into the Hall of Fame. We'll do the rest of the work for you. First up on the board, monster win from Michael Heating. 62,500. Thank you, gentlemen, with this few salute emojis. Huge win for Mike. May not have the avatar, but he's shouting out the boys with a huge win, and we appreciate it. Next up, Claudius Gothicus. Nice little $10,000 win here. Rocking the Stokastic avatar. I'll try and read this one. I'm not sure exactly what it means. Maybe I'm just out of the loop here. They played themselves, Greg Ehrenberg. While you're hating and being jealous, you could be over here embracing that love, Josh. More love, more blessing, more life. They never believed in us, Gundecker. They didn't want to see us get the free months. Stokastic NBA to a bag. Congrats, man. $10,000 win in the Micro Millions opener, by the way. Massive field on that. Next up, you got Flux Capacitor. All right, Captain Gel, $15,000 win right there with a simple at Stokastic Hall of Fame. Another big win for the week. And Jay Hood with 10,000. Big shout out to the Stokastic team for getting me on some players I didn't want to roster. I hand built this time because I was only playing 20 lineups, so the 3 hours of content was needed. I'll try and send some super chat love your way tomorrow. Appreciate you, man. And congrats, Jay Hood. Another 5-figure victory right there. And our very own Jake Hari been pumping out some NFL content, especially during the All-Star break. Hopefully you've been paying attention. Ran very good to win an FHWC ticket by getting a late Pitt 1 goal. So I guess first line of Pittsburgh to go along with Dusty Montreal 3. Shout out to Slim Cliffy, Josh, and Pete Matt. Listen, these guys are crushing the NHL game, content game, and the Top Stacks tool for making me force some Pitt 1 lineups into my crunch is one of the highest leverage spots on the slate. Boom, punching his ticket, $19,500 value. And then T, or Go Army 54, big thanks to the Stokastic team, lineup cruncher, killed it for me. Again, things talking about lineup generator, but we'll take it. $5,000 right there in the NBA shot. And Zach McMurray, I love seeing this, right? The NBA All-Star break. We're going to throw our hat in the ring for some new sports. Well, Zach decided to try out PJ DFS for the first time ever this weekend. Ended with a couple of binks. Shout out to the guys at Stokastic. Best tools and analysis in the business. Appreciate you, man. Huge. $3,500 win there, and then $222 again in the pitching wedge. 25 cents to enter. Gotta love seeing that. And how about Max Pierce? Once again, NBA All-Star break. Let's see what we can do with some hockey. Max said, first time ever playing NHL. Don't know a single player's name. The tools did all the work for me. Let's go. Yeah, look at that. Micro forecheck, hip check, quarter jukebox, enforcer, all that good stuff coming out with an awesome night in a sport that he doesn't even know the player's name. And how about reclaim this gold, right? TT Bailey Finch got the NBA lineup generator. I told you guys for the price, you're not going to beat it. Got the NBA lineup generator on the very first slate. This happened. Third place in the N1, right? Single or 20 entry max, $1 to enter. This guy, third place, $600. Huge. Love to see the lineup generator got you there, and yourself, of course. Boom Bust Tool, maybe the greatest invention ever from KB. $500 right there. Another nice win. Actually, looks like he had a bunch of wins there with a $1,100 win on top of that. And Arnold closing it out with Stokastic Hall of Fame. Thank you, guys. $300 win, third place in the N1. Congrats to everybody. You've now been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Come collect your free memberships at Stokastic Plus Platinum and rock that avatar. Get it at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame.
I'm good. What is happening, everybody? I hope that you guys are happy to be back with the NBA. We had our first slate in about a week yesterday, and we're going to keep it going. You guys are going to be even more excited today because Eric isn't here. Instead, he's being replaced by Neil. Eric befriended me yesterday because I talked him off of Chris Boucher. And then he didn't realize that the game happens beyond just the first 6 minutes. So Eric it just absolutely outraged with me because he claimed he was going to play 100% of Chris Boucher last night. And I talked him down to 16%. The Boucher didn't really end up being particularly good. So anyway, Eric didn't show up to work today. He's being replaced by Neil Orfield. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to No House Advantage, who is sponsoring the show. Neil, how is your NBA slate coming back, and how's your day going?
So I only played one lineup yesterday, and I did pretty well. So I only played one because I was doing like the XFL cheat sheet, like trying to really focus on getting the XFL slate right. So I just did one lineup because I had done a little bit of NBA content, and it went well. I got like 500th place out of 47,000 with my one lineup, so I felt pretty good about that. And that was just hand built. But obviously I turned $15 into $45. So better than most days, but not a huge windfall. How did it go for you?
Yesterday was pretty neutral because I did decently in large field tournaments, but my single entry lineup, I don't know how. I hate when this happens. And for whatever reason, a lot of times lately, my single entry lineup either ends up being the best of all my lineups or the worst, and no in between. That's what's been happening to me very consistently. Last night, unfortunately, I had pretty good large field GPP lineups, but my single entry lineup that I play in all the different single entry tournaments on DraftKings was my worst lineup of all of the ones that I played in large field GPPs. So overall, it ended up being like a neutral night, but I had really good lineups in general. Just that one unfortunate thing. But overall, it wasn't terrible or anything like that. And I did really well in sports betting. Also, I won every single bet I placed yesterday, and I almost placed exclusively plus money bets. So I felt really good about that. So
nice.
Overall, I was pretty happy with the outcome of all the games yesterday. And look at this. We've already got people coming in here and leaving super chats. It's because they're so excited to see you here, Neil. Although maybe not. The first question we got was specifically being asked to Eric, who is not here. So for all intents and purposes, I hate to do this to you, but you live closest to him, both Minnesota Timberwolves fans. So you're going to have to be Eric for this question, because Ben Anthony wants to know, I'm late. Need value fast. Give it to me, Eric.
All right. Well, so, I can read the value column just fine, just as well as Eric. I think that's the one thing that I can keep up with Eric on is reading, the players who project the best point per dollar for us. Josh Christopher, 3,300. I think is going to be one of the best value plays on the slate. We've only got him projected for just over 24 minutes, and he's already one of the best value plays. He might get the start, so he's going to be a great value. Ty Washington, if he starts, I don't know if I'm going to go there without if he's not getting the start, if it is Dacian Knicks. But if Ty Washington's starting, he's going to look good. Tari Eason looks pretty solid. And then, of course, Kevin Love, I think, is going to be the biggest decision point that people are making today, because we just have no idea how many minutes Kevin Love is going to be playing for the Heat. Like, he could be playing, and we've got him for just under 20 minutes. He still looks like a great value play, but he could play upwards of like 24 minutes, I think. So I'm going to be playing some Kevin Love, but I think he's a questionable play. Did you have any other value plays you want to add in there?
So you just rattled off a bunch of guys. I'm trying to see who I have exposure to right now that you did not mention.
He said give them to him fast, so I just had to read off.
That is
names,
true. You did go. That was what his question is. So yeah. I shouldn't really say anything. Especially, by the way, you've been dubbed in chat. I don't know if you know this, the flannel god. That is what you're now known as.
Yeah.
Joe Lacat saying the flannel god when you showed up.
Oh, the flannel god.
Were you aware of that nickname, or is that new?
No, that's a new one.
I like it.
I guess I don't do Showdown for NBA, so you can't call me the Showdown Shaman anymore. I'll go with Flannel God. I'd take that any day.
The Flannel God. I like it. That's like your version of Nerd Ass Greg. You are now the Flannel God. Yeah. I like it, especially if you hit on like a contrarian low on play like Kevin Love, who's not projected to be all that popular today, unless that has changed. Let me double check our ownership projections. Yeah, I think if
Eric Johnson, you think I wear underwear?
All right, so Kevin Love's latest ownership projection, refreshing the page to make sure I'm getting the most recent data here. So Kevin Love is projected for 6% ownership at the flat min on DraftKings. On FanDuel at 3,900, he's projected for less than 1% ownership. If Kevin Love goes off tonight, I want everybody to tweet at Neil and just hashtag Flannel God. I think we can make this a thing.
Because I was the first person to mention it on this show.
Kevin Love never been mentioned before at any point ever?
I mean, I've consumed some Stokastic content today. Nobody's mentioned Kevin Love at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about the flannel god thing. I'm much more fixated on that. But yeah,
I see.
I haven't heard anybody talk about Kevin Love.
That was a joke, by the way. They've all talked about him.
Oh, have they?
In the shows that I've watched? Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I don't watch anybody else's shows.
Oh,
I know.
I usually don't either, but.
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment this afternoon. I came back. I was doing some other stuff. But yeah, I don't really get the opportunity usually because of my work schedule to watch the other shows that are here. And I know Jordan's usually producing and maybe paying attention, maybe not. So he doesn't really know. Did they talk about Kevin Love last show, Jordan? Yeah, maybe he says maybe. As for other players that we consider to be good value options, I don't know. Did you mention Kyle Anderson?
I did not mention. Yeah, I guess he's. I love Kyle Anderson as well, but I did not mention him.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like the Timberwolves, your team, you got them on your head right now, are priced for the absence of D'Angelo Russell. It doesn't seem like the pricing is caught up for this at all. And there's a lot more usage to go around on this team because Mike Conley, I like Mike Conley a lot as a real life player. I think he's a better real life player than D'Angelo Russell. But as far as fantasy goes, Russell's a much better fantasy producer. He's a much higher usage guy. Yeah. And we've basically just taken his usage out of the lineup, replaced him with a lower usage guy in Mike Conley. And the price have all stayed the same for Timberwolves players. So almost all of them look good across the board. And if you're just running lineups using Optimizer, I don't know if you ran into this, you get to just a shit ton of Houston Rockets and Minnesota Timberwolves. Was that your experience as well running lineups?
Yeah, so I've only run one set of lineups so far, making zero adjustments to anything. And yeah, I have 94% Josh Christopher. So Josh, I know you didn't listen to the earlier show, but Josh was saying that he was getting like 93, 94% ant. I'm at 56% on my first run. This is not going to be close to what my final run is, but I'd be totally fine having 56% ant tonight. I'm also going to the game, so that's another bonus for playing Timberwolves. But yeah, I'm getting Josh Christopher. It's my top, let's see, 8 players or maybe 7: Josh Christopher, Rudy Gobert, Ant, Kyle Anderson, Şengün, Tai, Eason. So those are my top 7 players there are from those two teams.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I ran lineups, because whenever I do the first run, just out of curiosity, I don't set any kind of rules, restrictions, anything like that in Fantasy Cruncher. I don't set any max players per team. I just do a run. It's like, all right, what's popping up for me? And it was immediately like, oh, all of my most rostered players from the Rockets and the Timberwolves. And like my lineups would be like 4 Rockets, 4 Timberwolves, 1 other piece was just coming up across the board. And then I changed it. Now I have the max of 3 for each team. And that kind of does change it. And then something else to consider as well, before we answer some more of these super chats, we've got injury news today and some pretty significant injury news. Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. SGA is questionable.
Did Greg cut out? Greg is? Okay. I thought I had cut out and I was just already responding to chat, so I continue that. I don't remember. I wasn't listening to Greg because I was responding to chat. I think he was talking about injury news. We've got some questionable players. Primarily, Giannis is kind of a big decision or a big injury news that we are waiting on to some extent, just because Jrue Holiday will be interesting if Giannis is out. If Giannis is in, I don't really know that I would be going to anybody from Milwaukee. And we've got Draymond questionable. I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to be interesting regardless of whether Draymond plays. But if Draymond is out, I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to take a big jump. He's going to look great. I did not prepare for talking about the players who are questionable, so I'll let Greg continue that talk when he comes back. But those are 2. There was one other that I wanted to mention, but I'm blanking on it right now. So I guess maybe I can start getting to some of these super chats. I do not have them loaded up. I am not rattled, Wade Hogs. No, I am. I'm kind of I wasn't prepared for this. Greg is hosting. I just answer questions when they come to me. So I'm like, all right, I'll go try and find some super chats, talk about those. I'm going to skip over the tiers question for now because I don't even play tiers. So I will wait to hear who the options are when Greg comes back. Okay, Ben Anthony, we did the value. Avi Schreier, Barbara Streisand. That is, she's a singer and I think an actress. I don't have anything to add to that super chat, but thank you for it, Avi. Okay, Hannah asked for favorite tiers. I think we got multiple for favorite tiers plays. Okay, so I guess because we have multiple, Jose and Hannah both asked for favorite tiers plays. I will open up my DraftKings app and see if I can figure out how to find tiers. Just give me one moment. Okay, here's tiers. All right, so we've just got the one contest. All right, so the top is Shea, LaMelo, and Domantas Sabonis. Not worrying about ownership, I would just go with LaMelo Ball. He is the top projected player of those 3. Tier 2, we've got Trae Young, Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell, Kristaps Porzingis, none of whom are high priorities for me today, but let me take a look at who projects the best and give you a good answer here. All right, so of these four, Trey, Julius, Donovan, Porzingis, we have Julius Randle projected the best from this group, followed by Shea, who has an injury designation. Okay, Shea is okay. He was the third that I wanted to talk about. Shea is questionable, so maybe you don't want to take on that risk.
I here?
You are back. I can hear you now, Greg.
Okay.
I don't know if you're on the show.
This has happened before, and I was posting in chat, so my internet was fine. I blame Eric. I don't know what it was, but it was most likely his fault. But I'm here. I could see you. I could hear you talking about me not being here. And just like the kid who everybody bullies and pretends is invisible and nobody could see him or hear him, I'm sitting there going, no, I'm right here. I could see you. You could see. I could hear you. And it just wasn't working. And then Zoom booted me. And then I tried to get back into Zoom and it just wasn't having it. It just wouldn't let me do it. So I just really quickly turned my computer off, turned it back on, and then it worked. So anyway, what I was talking, by the way, whatever Neil said, I don't know what it was. I agree with him though. If this was Eric here, I wouldn't have said that, but I agree. Everything Neil said was on point. Injuries we have that are going to shape this slate in a pretty significant way. Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. SGA is questionable. Draymond Green is questionable. Actually, eerily enough, the last thing I said before you said you couldn't hear me was I'd said Mitchell Robinson was questionable. And the first thing I saw when Zoom let me back in was that Mitchell Robinson was now going to play. So make of that what you will. Does it mean anything? Most likely not, but it's out there. It is information to take in. Were we reading any super chats or in the middle of anything?
Yeah, so we had multiple super chats about tiers, and I don't play tiers, so I had to figure out where to find tiers. I mean, it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, but I found them, and I started with the top tier. I said I'd take LaMelo. Second tier comes down to Trae Young, Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell, Kristaps, our top projected play of the group. Julius Randle, I guess he's got a nice matchup, decent matchup with Washington, so I'd probably go there. The others all have relatively tough matchups. Tier 3, I'll ask you now, Greg, since I'll take over the hosting, since we've done one show with me hosting now. I can ask you who you like. You know who I'm going to like from this group. So the tier 3: Ant Edwards, Bam Adebayo, De'Aaron Fox, Nikola Vucevic, and Kawhi Leonard.
So first of all, I'm going to assume, was this question from Ace of Spade?
So we got a couple. Hannah Banana asked, and also might have been Ace of Spade as well. Who was the second one?
Because he usually, because there's certain people. So because of Ace of Spade, I build out tiers lineups every single night because we usually get a question from him. And then Jay frequently asks either towards the end of the show or right in the post-lock show about showdown contests. So I usually build those out for him. So I'm prepared. I do have lineups built out here for Ace of Spade or for Hannah, whoever was that asked this question.
We had multiple, so you can cover.
Oh, wow. Everybody wants to know about tiers today. Yeah. Tier 1 for me, LaMelo is the player I got the most exposure to in my build. Tier 2, Julius Randle. Tier 3, Anthony Edwards, edging out Kawhi Leonard. Tier 4, Devin Booker, who's just in general underpriced right now, and I think he should be good to go in the second half of the year. Tier 5, DeAndre Ayton. And then tier 6 for me was Şengün. So that's what I got for me across all 6 of those tiers. Now I'm going to try to get caught up on these questions as well to see what it is that missed out on. We've got from Abby Schreier, Barbra Streisand.
I responded to that one already.
Oh, what did you have to say about it?
I said that she is a singer and I believe an actress as well.
Yeah, and also responsible for the soundtrack of the Titanic, which to many women is a great romantic movie. To most men, it is a horror movie. So that is what I know Barbra Streisand from. The next super chat we have here was the one from Hannah Banana. Favorite tier plays. All right, we just hit on that. And then, Jose Morales was the other one we got. Best option for DK tiers, specifically tier 2, tier 4, and tier 6. So let me just go back to reiterate those 3 tiers: 2, 4, and 6.
Yeah, Russia's isn't that Celine Dion? And I'm with him. I thought Celine Dion did the soundtrack to Titanic.
Nobody knows. People have been trying to figure it out. Nobody knows. Nobody cared enough to look.
It's unknowable, actually.
Yeah, it's absolutely unknowable information. Nobody knows for sure. Tier 2 for me was Julius Randle. Tier 4 was Devin Booker, and tier 6 Şengün. All of those were pretty clear cut for me as well. Other super chats, I've got the ones that And by the way, anybody who knows the in and outs of Barbara Streisand, that was a test. You're a nerd. All right. That's what we were doing right there. I was right there. Ben Anthony. Derrick Rose is better than Cam Payne. Okay. Career-wise, for sure. I don't know what that's apropos of.
Yeah. I don't know where that question was posed or where it came from, but
it was a super chat. It was a super chat.
Oh, it was a super chat. Okay.
Yeah. Derrick Rose, the youngest MVP in NBA history, shouldn't have won that MVP. Should have been LeBron James or Dwight Howard that year. Ben Simmons just ruled out, by the way. So the absence of Ben Simmons is, I don't think, going to change all that much for me. Ben Simmons has fallen off in such a significant way. He's been playing like sub 20 minutes for the Nets as of late. So
yeah, it's pretty. We had him projected for 21 minutes. I've this is kind of beside the point, but I have had this discussion with my Timberwolves fan friends multiple times. The guys I have season tickets with have had the conversation about Ben Simmons. So like, there was a point where there was talk of the Timberwolves trading D'Lo for Ben Simmons, and I was like, absolutely they should. And they still give me shit about the fact that I was like, yes, you should trade D'Lo for Ben Simmons. That's an obvious trade because he has so much more potential. We know what D'Lo is, and now obviously Ben Simmons looks like he might be out of the league pretty soon. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, and still physically, and I was actually at one of his last good games. I was at the Nets Celtics game, and he played really well in that game. Fans still booed him for most of it, but either way, he played really well in that game. He had like 10 assists in the first quarter. I think he either had 9 or 10 assists in the first quarter of that game, and the fans were just yelling at him to shoot the entire time, and they were not having it. Yeah, see, look, we're under here. John Monahan, Streisand is not on the Titanic soundtrack. Nerd, we got one right there. Anybody who's calling out anybody here who knows the entire discography of Barbara Streisand, we got you. Josh of Los Angeles, Neil, you were crushing. So I guess this was when I was gone.
That was when you were gone. Yeah.
Yes. Some people like the solo show there. Roddy Piper, give me goods, fellas.
All right.
What kind of goods? Looking for.
David Milk says, you guys are talking about everything but tonight's lineup? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Barbara fucking Streisand. Yeah, we'll answer some questions, talk about the slate a little.
I mean, for Roddy Piper, give me the goods, fellas. This is how drug transactions, I'm old now. Is this how drug transactions happen on the internet? Somebody leaves a super chat and just says, give me goods. Talking about most rostered play. We could do most rostered players. Current build you have, Neil. Why don't you do it for DraftKings? I'll do it for FanDuel. The most rostered players we have at each position. So for you starting at point guard in the build you have right now, who are you getting to the most on BK?
Okay, I'll tell you who I have right now, but I also have not really made any adjustments. So this is going to change pretty drastically. So right now I have Ty Washington, Chris Paul, Darius Garland at point guard. I have Josh Christopher at 94%, Ant at 56%, Paul George at 26%. I like all three of those, so I think I probably will hold on to a significant amount of all three. At small forward, Christopher, Edwards, Kyle Anderson as well, and then Tari Eason again, Paul George in there. Power forward, Kyle Anderson, Tari Eason, Evan Mobley, and then center I have Rudy and Şengün and Mason Plumlee, who I think are probably the three that I'm going to end up with as my three most rostered in the end as well.
So position by position on the FanDuel build I have, Brunson was the point guard I got to the most. Anthony Edwards at shooting guard. And, well, Josh Christopher as well, shooting guard eligibility. So some of the ones that were like really predominant, I'll just mention them together. So Christopher and Edwards at shooting guard, small forward, Anthony Edwards also there, but then Kyle Anderson. Power forward, also Kyle Anderson, Jabari Smith, somebody popped up pretty meaningfully for me. And then at center, Şengün. And it's once again, some of the same things across FanDuel and DraftKings. We've got for the Rockets, there's no Jalen Green. There's no Kevin Porter Jr. And then we talk about the Timberwolves, like I was saying before, just a team that's not priced appropriately for the absence of D'Angelo Russell and him getting traded. Been a while, I know, since that went down, but still no update in terms of what the pricing is on FanDuel and DraftKings for a lot of those players. Once again, Ben Simmons being out, not really all that significant for me. Other news that we just got that came in, Cedi Osman is available to play. Also doesn't matter. And then Taurean Prince listed out. Just once again, another player that makes the Timberwolves a little bit more shorthanded. Individually, he doesn't change a ton, but it's just more reason to look at this team as being a shorthanded team. And the Knicks starting lineup with Mitchell Robinson is in Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, Robinson. That is the Knicks starting five. So let's hit on.
What do you think of Mitchell Robinson tonight? Is he playable?
It's always hard for me to trust guys who have not played in such a long time, just because I assume they're going to be restricted in some sort of way. Mitchell Robinson has not played since January 18th.
Yeah.
And I get it was a thumb injury, but
I don't think I'm going there either. Like, he's sort of an interesting thought in a large field GPP only, but he is 5,200. It's like, what are the chances he puts up 40, which is what you really need, like where he's going to hurt you. So I don't think I'm going there.
Yeah, and for the year, by the way, 27 minutes per game, 25 fantasy points. It's like he's kind of priced appropriately for his normal role. And it just stands to reason to me that he'd be a little bit restricted. So that'll be a no-go for me. No-go for me. Let's see. What else do we have here in terms of super chats? And if you guys have questions in Discord, I'll be hitting those up as well. And in the post-lock show, because Neil and I are going to be sticking around, good chance we're going to get news in the last 30 minutes of today's show, just because of the amount of players that are on the injury report, like Giannis, like SGA, that are actually really significant. And the starting time for Giannis's game, by the way, is was that a 7:30 Eastern time. So that is when our show is going to end during that post-lock show. So without a doubt, we're going to get Giannis news at some point. And Avi Schreier has asked us, is Crowder a decent play if Giannis is out? Well, for starters, I do expect Giannis to play. But if I don't even know what to make of Crowder. Crowder hasn't played in forever.
Yeah, we just don't know. Like, I don't think he's going to come in and play 30 minutes this will be his first game with the Bucks. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and it's his first game of the season with anybody.
Bucks debut. Oh, really? I did not realize he has not played this year. So it's really hard to expect him to play significant minutes, and he's 5,000. Like, if Jake Crowder was the minimum, I would definitely have interest. We haven't projected for 18 minutes, but puts him at 13 fantasy points at 5,000. I don't think you need to play Jake Crowder.
No, I mean, like, Jimmy Carter was president the last time he played in a game. It's been a minute since we've seen him in NBA action. And what happened in the offseason was, I don't even know, he was really disgruntled with his role with the Suns. I don't know why, but he was really unhappy with his role on the Suns. He thought he should have been a starter. He lost the starting spot to Cam Johnson, and Mikal Bridges asked to be out. It's not like he's going to be playing a crazy significant role for I can't imagine his role with the Bucks is going to be that much greater than what it was when he was with the Suns. But whatever, he got his trade. He's happy to be out of Phoenix, but I'm not going to be playing him in DFS tonight.
Yeah, me neither. Is he chasing a ring at this point? Like, I know he got very close with the Suns, right? Is that the closest he came, or did he win a ring at some point?
I'm not sure, but even still, I still think he'd have a better chance of winning a ring with the Suns right now than with the Bucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard for me to figure out why it is he didn't want to be there, but he didn't want to be there. Ryan Nelson super chat. Greg has gone to the locker room for an MRI. That is an EMAC quote / impression from Ryan Nelson. Is EMAC in the chat today?
I think he was earlier. I haven't seen him in a while.
So no EMAC, which was also no me for a little while there.
That's true. It was just me, and I was very sad.
And you did very well, according to that super chat we got.
According to one of the people. Most people were saying Neil was losing his mind. Which is kind of true.
What was like the most amount of time that you would have gone before you were sending out the bat signal for somebody else to pop on with you?
I mean, I would have just kept going until time was up. I did see after the fact, I saw Terry was in chat. So I was just going to go until Jordan gave me somebody to talk to. I know. Oh, is Eric in there too?
Eric hit me up like the 30 seconds after Greg lost whatever the hell happened.
What a guy. I didn't know Eric was watching. What a guy.
Just in case anybody talks about him, he likes to be around.
That's smart. And you and I never talk about Eric, though.
No, I don't even think about him. That's not true either. Mr. Cool Cam 97, top 5 favorite GPP plays on FanDuel. So I could tell you the players I got the most exposure to in the last run I did of FanDuel lineups, and that was Josh Christopher, Kyle Anderson, Jabari Smith, Jalen Brunson, and Anthony Edwards. Those were the 5 I ended up getting the most exposure to. News for tomorrow. Nobody gives a care. Greatness 410 took 3rd in the $12 pick and roll last night and sent you a DM about it. This is my financial thank you. And then any interest in a cheap PG or Kawhi? Yeah, yesterday was great. I got a lot of really nice messages from people because number one, my betting picks were really good, but then also because just a lot of people watching the show last night had really good DFS lineup. So greatness was one of the people, if I'm not mistaken, third for $1,000 in the $12 single entry. I remember your
Nice.
your DM that you sent me. So congrats on that. And then any interest in a cheap PG or Kawhi?
Yeah, definitely.
Paul George, yes. Paul George, I'm getting a good amount of.
I have interest in both just because of the ownership is going to really low. We have Kawhi at 8.4% ownership against Sacramento. 9,200 is a reasonable price for Kawhi Leonard as well. So I do think that I'm probably going to end up getting above the field on that 8.4% that we have for Kawhi Leonard too. But yeah, Paul George, one of my favorite plays.
Yeah, I'm getting to Paul George in about a third of my lineups right now. The next question we have here is from Avi Schreier. No rings for Crowder. He was with the C's and the C's after they got the rings. All right. So no championships for Jay Crowder. He's been on a bunch of teams. I don't remember all.
He was also, I think he was on the Heat when they had their finals run. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but yeah, he's been on a lot of good teams. I just remember him like getting into it with LeBron, and I think they must have been with the Suns at that point. And then they beat LeBron. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it went down.
He also played with LeBron in Cleveland.
That's right.
He's played on every team, every single team, him and Ish Smith. The next question is from, let me scroll back. All right. So the one, okay, we answered that here from RADM. Can you explain the tier thing? Best player by position. So tiers is just a different contest on DraftKings. They've got the classic contests, which are the normal ones that we're normally talking about. They've got the showdown contests. Those are the one game contests. And then there is tiers, which is like a group of players in tier 1, a group of players in tier 2, group of players in tier 3, all the way out to 6 tiers. And you can only draft players from that tier. So that's like the easiest way for me to explain it. But RADM, if you go to DraftKings, pull up the app, go to the NBA tab, you're going to see a drop-down menu. And it is going to give you the list of the different contests. And if you want to see tiers, just click on the one that says tiers. So you're going to see classic, showdown, tiers, in-game showdown, snake showdown. I can't do any of the snake showdown draft type things for whatever reason. It's not allowed in New Jersey, but tiers, you'll find it right there. And if you have any more questions about it, hit me up. Riley Cooper, 14, Spencer or Rudy last man in. So I assume it means Spencer Dinwiddie or Rudy Gobert. That is Rudy Gobert for me.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of depends on the lineup. Like if you have chalk everywhere, then maybe you consider switching over to Spencer Dinwiddie. But yeah, Rudy is going to just project a lot better point per dollar. Let me see. I want to see how close it actually is. Spencer Dinwiddie is projected for 34.5 fantasy points. Yeah, Rudy's at 42. So it would be, I would only pivot to Spencer Dinwiddie if it's like you have all chalk elsewhere in your lineup. Then you can get down to the 7% Spencer Dinwiddie, but Rudy just projects much better.
Yeah, it's Rudy for me. I've got a good amount of exposure to him right now. I think on DK, if I'm not mistaken, my most rostered center right now, Rudy Gobert. Avi Schreier, I got the money. You got the stuff. Hit me up on Twitter, Avi. Hit me up in my DMs. Better believe I do. Another super chat. This one is from, oh boy, this is a long name. UNMNU University New Money Mercy Crypto Life.
All right. University of Minnesota guy?
I don't even, how'd you even come across that YouTube name? Like how it was the first one just UNM and U University taken? Anyway.
Oh, NM. So maybe New Mexico.
I think he just goes to New Money Crypto Life University. That's what I think the college goes
University
to.
of New Money. That's right. That's what it is.
Lofty gave me a nice shout out. Engleman and Raza during COVID were awesome. NBA 2K is something I'll never forget. Greg, Eric, Orfield, love it. No question. Just appreciate what you do and good luck all. So I'll give you a shout out too. Yeah. UNMNU University New Money Mercy Crypto for Life. One of the best 75 or so names that I've seen on YouTube so far. So shout out to you and thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you.
Testing those character limits.
Yeah, I didn't even know they let you put a name that long. Good to know. The more you know. Corey Shea, best DK guard or forward, 7,900 and under. So it can't be a center. Guard or forward, $7,900 and under. Let's see. Sort by projection. So 7,900 and under, best projected
Rudy.
guard or no,
it has
to
be
be guard or forward.
We had one rule. Okay.
Yeah. That, by the way, classic Eric answer right there. Classic.
Kuzma is the top, I believe.
That is
in terms of projection.
Chris Paul for me.
Interesting. I've
Chris
got
Paul for me.
Using our projections. I mean, it's within like 0.3 of a fantasy point, or no, I guess it's 0.7 of a fantasy point between those two.
They're close. They're close. Yep. I have a slight lean towards Chris Paul, and I have more exposure to Paul as well. So my answer, CP3.
Revenge game for CP3.
Not the reason why, but we could add that in as well. Hippopotamus. Does Simmons outboost Claxton or Sharp at all? Not really. I mean, Ben Simmons is just not playing a big role for the Nets right now. If you look at, let me pull up Ben Simmons' recent games. And we know Ben Simmons isn't a usage guy.
I mean, rebounding, he's a good rebounding.
Ben Simmons played
player.
20 minutes last game with a 7% usage rate, had 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. The game before that, he played 13 minutes with a 14% usage rate. He has not had a usage rate over 20% since January 19th against the Suns. And the only reason he did in that game is because they got ejected. So it was only 18 minutes in a small sample size. He's just not doing much for the Nets right now. I really don't think his absence impacts that much right now.
Yeah. I mean, it affects minutes, obviously, but I don't know whose minutes really get a bump that you care about. Like, we're already going to get max minutes for Mikal Bridges, somebody you're considering playing, Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie. I don't know that it does much else.
Corey Randall, why Christopher and Eason? A lot of guys are out for the Rockets right now. So actually, I was going to say, are we going to advocate for these guys being the best players in the NBA, which is not the case. But I do think Tari Eason's a pretty solid young player. But really the big thing here is Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green are both out for the Rockets. Definitely some risk here with the blowout on the road against the Golden State Warriors. The spread, 10 points, the largest spread on the slate. But who's going to play in garbage time for this team? Probably the guys who are getting normal minutes anyway, because the whole game is basically garbage. The whole season's garbage time for the Houston Rockets at this point. But yeah, the real is Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green out. It creates a bunch of extra playing time in the backcourt and a whole lot of extra usage as well for this team. So that's why, just injuries. Next question we have here is from Abby Schreier. RJ Barrett or Chris Middleton on FanDuel? Let's see.
That's a really tough one. Like, both of those guys are just so, like, you can't really project them all that well, right? Because Chris Middleton, we just don't know if he's going to come back and play significant minutes after the All-Star break. Like, maybe he could play significant minutes, but then RJ Barrett's kind of the same way. Like, he just plays such sporadic minutes that.
So the other issue too is we don't know if Giannis is in or not.
True. Yeah, like that would probably be the deciding factor, to be honest.
What do I have these guys right now? So the answer is Barrett at the moment. If Giannis is ruled out, then it becomes Middleton.
I think I agree with that.
But once again, I'm expecting Giannis to play. Do you have a particular lean on that, or?
Because are you expecting because of the midday upgrade? Because we were thinking he was going to. I mean, he was doubtful earlier in the day.
When somebody goes from doubtful to questionable, more often than not, they play in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I slightly lean toward playing, but I don't feel strongly about it.
Let's see, the next question we have here is from Tyler Sappington. I really like Terry Rozier tonight. This is Tyler saying it, not me. I really like Terry Rozier tonight. Now with Oubre in, what are your honest thoughts? I think there's a lot of better players to get to today.
I have some already, and I think he's a fine player. I think this game could just really go off and be a very high scoring game. So I don't hate the Terry Rozier play.
If he's playing one lineup and he's Terry Rozier in it, just Terry Rozier would not be in one lineup that I built.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't be in the first lineup that I built, but like if you're playing 5, I could see playing a Terry Rozier lineup. He's only getting 11% ownership. What do we have? I'm curious what the boom bust tool says. That would be the next.
Pull it. Go check out the boom bust tool, and while you're checking that out, and report back to us on your findings. I'll let everybody know that if you sign up using the link we have below for any package over at Stokastic.com right now, you get an NBA weekly pass. You can get a Stokastic Plus Platinum pass. If you sign up using the link below, you're going to get 50% off the first package you sign up for if you haven't signed up here before. So go check that out, and it's going to get you access to the NBA lineup generator, our player projections, our ownership projections, and the NBA boom bust tool that Neil's about to provide us some information on. What's it got to say about Terry Rozier?
Yeah, so we've got him at 11.2% ownership, 13.44% chance of booming. So a little bit of positive leverage there, and then 11.6% chance of being optimal. So we actually have a little bit of positive leverage on Terry Rozier at 11% ownership. It's very neutral. Like, it's not like a huge amount of leverage really even worth, because like the ownership projection could be off by two percentages, and then it would be negative leverage. So not much to read into that. He looks like a fairly neutral to slightly positive play at 11% owned.
And still none of this injury news coming in. We've only got 13 minutes to go until lock. And Jordan, can you check on NHA for me? Is there any overlay over there? Because NHA, if you guys haven't signed up there yet, use our link. Can get to a $100 bonus on your first deposit, and you're going to get access to all kinds of overlay that doesn't exist on sites like FanDuel or DraftKings. So overlay report coming from the Jordan Klein.
It is currently 38% full.
38%. Are we locking at 7 or 7:30 tonight on NHA?
It would be 7 Eastern.
So this 13 minutes, the slate locks on NHA, and the contest is less than 40% full. So if you guys want to take advantage of some free money, go check out No House Advantage. And they also have props against the house that we're going to be talking about here on the post-lock show. Next question here is from, nope, already answered that one. Here we go. Connor McGinty. Greg, Error, Jordanberg, and Neil Showdown Shaman. Any fave plays for the single game Milwaukee, Miami on FanDuel? Connor, can I get back to you on this? Stick around for the post-lock show, because whether Giannis plays or not has such a massive impact on a one-game slate. Here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm screenshotting your super chat, so it's on my desktop, so don't forget about it. Screenshot it there. I'm going to come back. Once we get Giannis news, I'm going to run lineups for that, and I'll come back to you. I think it's a really hard one to answer right now. Next question from James Magruder. Greg, top plays at each position on DK. Yeah, we could run back and do it again. Do you have a final run of your lineups, Neil?
I wouldn't call it final, but I have an updated run, somewhat updated. I probably don't want to play as much Josh Christopher as I'm getting. I'm realizing we are getting a lot of questions about these Miami guards. So we should maybe, but let me just update one more time, and then I'll tell you what I have. But yeah, you can start.
As you're doing it, what are you going to do about the Knicks Wizards game to kick off the slate? Because it's a spot where me personally, I don't want to get a whole lot of exposure to it, just because I think there's going to be better options potentially opening up later in the slate via, if SGA is ruled out, if Giannis is ruled out, whatever it may be. So I'm kind of leaning towards actually just removing the Knicks Wizards game from my player pool right now and entering a set of lineups that way. And I think that is what's going to give me the most potential swappability for when more of this news is going to come out. But is that on your mind at all as you're approaching lock here?
I'm not removing the game, so I'm not getting a ton of it anyway. I'm getting a little bit. I'm getting 22% Kyle Kuzma currently, which if I get around 20% Kuzma, that's fine. He looks pretty great, pretty solid. I should say point per dollar. Great is an overstatement, but I'm just not getting to a ton of the game anyway. I have 10% RJ Barrett. I think I'm okay with that, just because he is such a high variability player. Like if RJ Barrett gets 36 minutes against the Wizards, I think he's going to look pretty good. So I'm okay with having 5% there, and then I've got 8% Julius Randle. But yeah, in general, just not getting to a ton of that game, not getting to enough that I'm worried about like cutting it out. Like I'm not getting like bad value from that game. I'm getting, I think, decent plays. So I'm okay with what I'm getting.
Yeah. And by the way, this is also going to go back to that question before. We got RJ Barrett versus Chris Middleton, and we were kind of unsure with 10 minutes to go. I just want to reiterate and say, I would just say Middleton just to give yourself more flexibility. I forget who it was that left us that super chat, but just wanted to make sure that I throw that out there. I'm going to update my lineups here. I am going to be, well, not going to already have, I'm removing the Knicks Wizards game from my player pool to give myself a little bit more flexibility. That is what I'm doing personally. And it's not to say that some of the players, like you mentioned Kuzma, I had exposure to Kuzma before I just did this update. I prefer the flexibility to Kyle Kuzma. If he goes and just destroys the slate, then so be it, and I'll be dead. But I would rather have the possibility to swap onto other players. But James Magruder, top plays for DK at each position. So just one guy at each spot right now for me. At point guard, it is Jordan Poole. Shooting guard, it is Anthony Edwards. Small forward is also Anthony Edwards, but I'll say Josh Christopher there. Power forward, Tari Eason. Center, Rudy Gobert. How about for you? If you just had to say your one most rostered player at each position on DK.
I don't know what I just did, but now I'm now getting into 20% Mike Conley. I didn't adjust his projection at all, but I'm suddenly getting to 20% Mike Conley, tied with Ty Washington, actually, as my highest owned point guard. At shooting guard, it is Josh Christopher, just ahead of Ant. At small forward, same thing. Josh Christopher just ahead of Ant. Power forward, it's Tari Eason currently. And then at center, it is Rudy Gobert.
Nice. And 3 max per team. I know that's what you usually do. Is that what you kept it with?
That is what I did today as well.
Okay.
Yep.
No issues with that. I'm thinking about potentially entering some lineups that might allow me for 4 players from Minnesota. But I do have it at 3, at least at the moment. Let's see. Some more super chats coming in from our guy, Robert, who his last name, I don't know if I pronounced it right or wrong yesterday. I've been saying Cremutula for a while. Jordan has told me that is incorrect. I asked Robert for the proper pronunciation. He didn't respond. So there's no way to know. I hope I pronounced it right. I hope Jordan's wrong, but who's to say? Robert wants to know top 5 non-Houston players for FanDuel cash. All right. So if we are removing all Houston players from consideration, right? So we're not going to say Josh Christopher. We're not going to say Jabari Smith. Not going to say Şengün. Kyle Anderson, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, and Mike Conley. Those would be the, he said 5. Mike Conley and it's a lot of Houston guys also. Evan Mobley's pretty popular. I think you can consider him as well. So a recap there. Kyle Anderson, Anthony Edwards, Evan Mobley, Jalen Brunson, Mike Conley. Those are the 5. Next question we have here is from my Philhark. By the way, are you working on your lineups? If you need some time, I could.
I can. Yeah, I am, but I can respond as we go. I'm fine.
Okay. My Philhark, Evan Mobley and Isaiah Joe, or Kyle Anderson and Hunter. Well, I'm Kyle Anderson and Hunter, I guess.
What was the first one?
Isaiah Joe and Evan Mobley. So what makes this tough is Isaiah Joe is not somebody I'm getting to right now, but if SGA is ruled out, I'll play a bunch of Isaiah Joe.
Yep. Everything will change.
For now, I'll say Kyle Anderson and Hunter, but good chance Isaiah Joe is going to look pretty good if SGA doesn't play. And he's not going to be as popular as he would have been, depending when the news comes out. And I don't think the news is going to be coming out until well into the slate. 10 p.m. Eastern time start for SGA. One of the other reasons also why I left the first game out of my player pool.
While I'm making some adjustments, I'm just going to say I'm kind of interested in 5% owned Klay Thompson with no Steph Curry against Houston. It could be a blowout, it could be over in 3/4, but it's pretty interesting to me that Klay Thompson only projected for 5% ownership. We've got the more expensive Jordan Poole at 14%. That kind of piques my interest.
I have some exposure to Klay. I don't have any issue with that.
Nice.
No issue with that. I slightly prefer Jordan Poole, but I still think Klay is a good option there. Super chat from Justin Cravens. Favorite any price single game contrarian play?
Which game?
Which game?
Does he mean single entry?
Yeah, let's assume he means single entry. If that's not what you mean, just throw it into YouTube chat. Don't leave us a super chat and we'll answer that. But if it's just anybody for lower ownership in large field tournaments, Paul George for me.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Paul George. Is he that low owned?
I mean, it depends what.
Yeah, 16%. That's semi-contrarian.
I don't think he's going to be very popular in single entry.
All right, let me see okay. So currently my highest owned player who is projected for under 10% ownership is now Klay Thompson, just because I think he's really interesting, just because the ownership is so low and we know Klay can put up 60 points in a game. So I'd say he is my highest, the person that I have the most of players who are not getting a ton of ownership.
Of players that have single digit ownership, I have the most of Clint Capella. It's a matchup where I expect he's going to have to play some more extended minutes, just considering the size of the Cleveland front court. And then also, he's just a pretty good pointsman and fantasy producer, super cheap at 5,900 on DK. So I am well overweight to the field on him.
I want to add LaMelo is actually not projected for a ton of ownership. If Giannis sits, LaMelo is the top projected player on the slate, which it's a slate that is interesting because we don't have anybody that actually projects all that well. Like we don't have anybody with a 62 projection today. It's LaMelo leads the way at 51, which is not a great point per dollar play because he is 11,000, which is too expensive for LaMelo. But as a contrarian option at 7% ownership, I would throw him in as somebody that I would consider as well.
And we got a confirmation from Justin that he was asking about single entry. So we got that. Okay. We got that covered. Now I'm going to go into our Discord channel. Sorry, I didn't answer some of the, we got a ton of super chats today and it didn't help that I got booted out of Zoom for a little bit. So let's fly through these, answer as many questions as we possibly can as fast as possible. Lippy, can you please tell me why Sabonis is only 7% owned tonight? Because of his position, it's the tail end of a back-to-back. He's fairly expensive with center eligibility only. I think the ownership on him being at 8% is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Supak, Jabari Smith or Kyle Anderson at power forward on FanDuel. I prefer Jabari Smith. Both of them, though, I think warrant like a lot of consideration. Heflove, would you play Jay Crowder in any of my 200 lineups? It's 600 lineups I'm playing Heflove, not 200, but no Jay Crowder for me tonight. Lippy, thoughts on Bradley Beal? I'm not playing the first game of the slate for just reasons before, trying to give myself as much flexibility as possible. Sniffs, 1, 2, 3, 4. If SGA is out, who are we prioritizing? Tricky one. It's going to depend a lot on who starts, but my assumption is who I would end up getting the most of. Josh Giddey through the roof. Would play a ton of Josh Giddey if SGA is ruled out. I'd be trying to get to him in as many lineups as possible. Other players from OKC, Isaiah Joe could potentially, it's going to depend who starts, right? Because I think Isaiah Joe could start and would look better, but they do such weird things with their lineup.
It's the hard thing. It's like, it doesn't even matter who starts. Like they might still play 15 minutes in the game.
My assumption is Giddey and Isaiah Joe are the players I would play the most.
Yeah, Giddey is definitely going to be a priority there because we know Giddey is actually going to get minutes. Everybody else, it is a bit tricky. Let's see, who else would we consider? I mean, the Jalen Williamses, do they benefit?
The Jalen Williamses?
Yeah.
I mean, to like a small extent. It's everybody on OKC would look a little bit better. The priorities, though, would be Giddey and Isaiah Joe.
Yeah.
Mincash Merchant, Pat Bev lock button. Whatever the opposite of the lock button is, that is what Patrick Beverly is. Lippy wants to know, is Dort a good play at 4,500? He is if SGA is out. That's another guy that would look better.
That's a good point, yeah. And he's a fine play anyway. I mean, he played 36 minutes last night, kind of out of nowhere, but now it is a back-to-back. So like he played 36 minutes last night. Are they going to play him 36 minutes again tonight? I don't know.
Lippy, no, that was the question we just answered. Timma, do you guys think that Naz Reid could get a few minutes with Taurean Prince out? I mean, he's going to play anyway. I don't think it really changes him all that much, though. Ernie P, how many players from each team? How many from the Rockets? I'm at 3 right now. I might change that to 4, though. I'll see what lineups look like in like 10 minutes. It depends also what happens with some of the Giannis news.
Yeah, I'm with 3. It's what I play most of the time, and I don't think there's any team that to me looks like a good enough value. I mean, Houston would be the team. If I were going to play 4 from any team, it would be Houston, just because they're so cheap. But I don't think I'm going to do that tonight. In fact, I know that I'm not going to tonight.
We are at lock, but a lot of these questions are still related to the. We just got a super chat from Corey Bomber. If SGA is out, Giddey and Jabari Smith, or Ant-Man and Eason. So if SGA is out, that would be Giddey and Jabari Smith for me. Like Giddey would become probably my favorite tournament play on the entire slate if SGA is out.
And I like Jabari Smith quite a bit too. So that would be my answer as well, sadly.
Yeah, whenever we get a question where it makes you not answer
I hate those questions
while you're sitting there.
Those are the worst questions.
Yeah, well, you've got your Minnesota Timberwolves hat on. You've got, I assume, the beer mug that's next to you.
Minnesota Timberwolves Stein.
You and Mike Lawrence coming all decked out in your favorite team's apparel. Mike Lawrence with one arm. He should get it amputated and turned into scissors.
That would be kind of cool. I hadn't thought about him doing that, but it seems that's something Mike would do.
Yeah, and then he can murder his wife. He could be the DFS version of the Blade Runner guy from the Olympics.
Oh, that guy. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He was from, what was his name?
New Zealand, maybe? Or no, South Africa.
Yeah, what was his name, though? Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner. Olympics. I don't know his real name.
I'll remember once I see it, though.
Ooh, Ryan Schindler says Kevin Love is starting.
Ooh, oh, that is going to change.
Man, that is
okay,
interesting.
So Kevin Love looks incredible now. I did not expect him to start.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Oscar Pistorius. Oh, we're understanding.
Yeah. Oscar Pistorius. He shot his girlfriend while she was on the toilet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that could be Mike. I don't see any reason that couldn't be him.
If that's what he wants to be, I believe in him.
So now that Kevin Love is starting, I still don't know what to expect from his minutes. It does not matter when he's 3,900 on FanDuel and the flat min on DraftKings. I am going to play lots of Kevin Love. This is also what's nice about fading the first game is I've got all of the space in the world to update my lineups now.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely nice. Yeah, I mean Kevin Love, they were, I don't know which of the shows that I listened to earlier, they were saying like, yeah, he might play 5 minutes in this game. And I think that's true. If you were not starting, like that was within the realm of possibility. We just don't know how they want to use Kevin Love. But as a starter, like that floor comes up quite a bit and that ceiling comes up quite a bit as well. So yeah, hard not to want to play.
He's
power
pretty
forward.
To me. Correct me if you feel differently. He's the best value play on the slate now. I mean, Kevin Love's starting.
Yeah,
I understand that he's fairly washed at this point in his career relative to what he was earlier. But with that in mind, his fantasy production this year. Let's pull this up because I'm pretty sure he's averaging over a fantasy point per minute still.
1.05.
Yeah, you give him 20 minutes, he's projected for over 20 fantasy points. Play Kevin Love. By the way, cash games also play. I know that we talked right now about how we don't know what his minutes are going to look like. You still play him in cash games when he's starting at mid price.
Yep.
All right, let's run an update.
Do we have a projection update yet?
I don't think so.
I mean, it just happened.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo. Another thing too is this kind of hurts the other starters from Miami. Not that this was a team that I was prioritizing getting to or anything, but Kevin Love is a pretty high usage guy, and that's just Hero, Butler, Love, and Adebayo in the same lineup. There's just only so many shots to go around. Like this negatively impact guys like Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler as well.
Yep. All right, I don't think we have a projection update yet.
Yeah, I was just curious if I just do like super conservative and just go 22 minutes for Kevin Love, he ends up as my most rostered player on the entire slate.
And that seems like a very reasonable projection too.
Yeah, he is impossible to get away from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And this is also going to change, by the way. I still have it in my back pocket. We got the super chat earlier about the Milwaukee-Miami showdown contest on FanDuel. This was from Connor McGinty.
Yep.
I'm happy we didn't answer this earlier because we would have had no clue that Kevin Love was starting if we would have answered it earlier. So Kevin Love is going to be somebody who's important to that build over there, Connor. But once again, still waiting for the Giannis news, and then I'll run lineups and get back to you on that.
It also helps that it did come like right after lock. Like to some extent, that will suppress ownership. Like you said, I mean, you save spots for Kevin Love. I think most people can still get him into their lineup if they want to, but there are a ton of people who stop paying attention at lock. So
it got some Lippy said, I told you about Kevin Love. Like I've heard about him before. You're not the one who informed me of him.
He was actually on my team for a while.
That's true. He was on your team. You're if you were like a Green Bay Packers fan, you lived in the area, you could literally say it is your team because you'd be.
That's true. We don't have that in Minnesota, sadly. A-Rod doesn't share.
No. But either way, it doesn't matter though. Also, Lippy, I know your real name's Eric Johnson. Here's why it doesn't matter though, is because there's late swap. Now I can just play all the Cavs. He's my most rostered player. Playing lots of Kevin Love.
Yep.
Playing lots of Kevin Love. Is there any more super chats we got here? Because I know we got, all right. So some more Discord questions. We'll bang these out. And then and I assume the Giannis news should be coming out soon. And then also we're going to look at NBA Bet Pro and some of the projections we have for the no house advantage picks against the house. So that's what's coming up on our agenda. But these questions answer in Discord. Ernie P, rank the Houston guys. He said rank these Houston guys. I assume it just means the. All right. So which Houston players are you getting the most exposure to in order, Neil?
So Josh Christopher is my number one most exposed Houston guy. Then for me, it is now Tari Eason.
So, sorry to interrupt, but it was Tar Eason for me, but now it is Şengün with Kevin Love added to the mix. I assume that's what lowered the Tar Eason there. So it is Christopher for me, 1, Şengün, 2, Tar Eason, 3.
I actually have the exact same amount of those two. I have 43% of both of Şengün and Tar Eason.
And then KJ Martin is the next one for me.
Do I have any KJ Martin? Do you not have any Ty Washington?
Well, he asked me to rank them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess
actually, you know what? Now that I've Kevin Love I did before. Now that Kevin Love is viable as a value option, I have 5% Ty Washington.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I mean, if Ty Washington starts, I am going to want to play him. I don't think I really want to play him off the bench.
Fair. No, I think that is totally reasonable.
Would you play Daishen Nix if he starts?
Yeah, if he starts, not off the bench though. And when does that game lock? That is a 10 p.m. Eastern time lock.
Yeah,
so it's going to be late
for a while.
But also, you know what's nice about getting to Houston, at least a lot of Houston, is if SGA is ruled out, it's the same start time. That's actually going to be. I'm making this decision now. So I have a 3-player max from every team. I'm going to change Houston for 4. By the way, Giannis will start today. So there we go. We got Giannis in. I'm going to change Houston for 4 just because that'll backload my lineups a little bit more and it'll enable me to make more swaps if SGA is ruled out.
We've got Sadiq Bey, DeAndre Hunter starting.
Yeah, no John Collins in the starting lineup for the Hawks.
Huh.
I'm not looking to play. I'm not looking to play Sadiq Bey though.
Okay. Oh, John Collins is out. Yeah, so Sadiq Bey jumps in. Yeah.
I'm still not going to play Sadiq Bey though. It's weird. He's kind of remained like somewhat expensive relative to like Sadiq Bey standards.
It's not a great matchup with Cleveland.
The worst matchup possible. They played the slowest pace in the league with the best defense. Didn't matter.
He started the last game and played 22 minutes. Or no, the last game he played 18 minutes. I think he has been starting though and just not playing that many minutes. Oh, sorry. So he did not start the last game. He started the game prior to that and played 21 minutes against Charlotte.
All right, just updated. Wait, what happened here? You know, it's funny. I changed my max players on Houston from 3 to 4 and then didn't get lineups with 4 of them anyway.
Nice.
I do want to update some of these Minnesota players though. So Minnesota, I actually want to circle back and look at this team because now that Taurean Prince is out, and I know we didn't really spend that much time talking about this, but does this materially change anything for Minnesota for you? Because it is a really shorthanded team. Like, were there any bench guys you ended up getting exposure to here?
So I actually have a good amount of several Timberwolves, but I don't have. I've got some Jalen Noel.
Okay.
I think he is the only bench guy that I'm getting to some. I actually have 18% Jalen Noel, and that's not something I did. That's just based on his projection. We have Kevin Love projected for 24 minutes, by the way, which obviously that's fragile, but kind of interesting. Yeah, so we've got Jalen Noel in for just 19 minutes, and that gets him into a good number of my lineups. I don't know that I love getting to 18% Jalen Noel, though. It is a great matchup, but it's not really like, what is the upside in those kind of minutes? I'm not sure that I really want that much. So I might get rid of some of it and save it for some Houston players.
For what it's worth, he had a game 2 weeks ago where he scored 51 fantasy points in 29 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you extrapolate that, just bring it down to 19, it's still going to be a good number of fantasy points. So that's fair.
So I think his minutes are, and I'll see when, I don't think he's somebody I'm really going to get to, but let me see. Let me rerun lineups right now.
Yeah. So I'm okay with getting to some. I'm just not sure if I really want 18%. But I'm probably not going to change it. Think about it.
Also, that game, 8 p.m. start time. So you still got some wiggle room there.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Giannis is in now.
Yeah.
How does that, number one, do you want to play Giannis? And then number two, how does it make the rest of the players on the Bucks look?
I don't think I'm playing anybody else from the Bucks. Man, it's tough because like he's probably going to be really low owned. So from that standpoint, he does make a good GPP play. Like it's very possible on this slate that Giannis puts up 70 and nobody else puts up more than 50, right? So there's obviously a big price difference there, but we do have some value. It's tough because he only projects slightly better than LaMelo Ball, and he's 12,700 versus LaMelo 11,000. But I still like it as a large field GPP play, just because, as I said, like I think that this is the kind of slate because we don't have Jokic and we don't have Luka, we don't have any of those other like real studs. That I think that it is possible for Giannis to outscore the next best play on the slate by 20 fantasy points. It's unlikely, but it is possible on this slate. And you might, I mean, you would obviously want him in that situation. Yeah. So I think if he's coming in at, I think we're going to get an ownership update too. Obviously, like he's not going to be 0.1% owned, but
he's going to be really low owned now.
Yeah, especially against Miami. Yeah, I do have some interest in Giannis. I'm going to give him a little boost.
Yeah, Giannis was, at least as of right before lock, projected for 0.1% ownership on DraftKings, 0.5% on FanDuel. People dying to swap onto Giannis? I don't think people are dying to swap onto Giannis
against Miami.
Issue.
No.
And also, you know what's going to resonate in people's minds? Some people out there are insane people that played that All-Star game slate.
Yeah, right.
He played like 5 seconds in that game and checked out, and that was the end of his All-Star game. There's going to be some people who are not going to want to play him just because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've brought his projection up now 8 fantasy points over what we haven't projected at, and I'm still getting to 0. So take that for, I mean, he doesn't project well point per dollar at all. So keep that in mind, but he's Giannis. Like we know that he's got the upside for a 35.18 board triple double.
Some more questions here. This one is from Guillaume Blaes. Sure, I didn't pronounce that correctly. That's a French name, I assume, because he's given us money in Canadian. Best utility 5,600 and under for DK single entry small field. Would it be Plumlee and leave $500 on the table? All right. So best utility. So it could be anybody on DraftKings for 5,600 or less. Let's see. 5,600. I'm going to just double check. 5,600 and under. So any player 5,600 or under.
Probably KJ Martin for me.
It's the answer for me is actually Josh Okogie.
Oh God. I mean, he's been legitimately good this year. It's frustrating for me as a Timberwolves fan who I can't buy into it. I'm like, this isn't going to last. Like, come on. And he just keeps eating me, keeps beating me whenever I don't play Josh Okogie. So yeah, I think he projects well enough. It's certainly a reasonable play. They're playing against OKC.
He's having a historic season. He's the highest rebound rate ever for a non-center, I believe. 6'4", he has like a 13% offensive rebound rate this year. His offensive rebound rate, if I'm not mistaken, it's like higher than Gobert's, higher than Anthony Davis.
Wow.
He is crashing the boards this year.
I made a face. I actually love Josh Okogie. Like he's a guy that when he was on the Timberwolves, like I bought his basketball cards and stuff. I actually had like his 1-of-1 optic autograph card, which is I loved having that. I was a big fan of Josh Okogie, and I still really I'm cheering for Josh Okogie in his career. I just wish that he would stop torpedoing my DFS nights.
He's had some nights where he's been very popular and done very well lately.
I know.
Last 4 games. And by the way, this is something else that matters to this also. The minutes he's playing are insane right now. The last 2 games he played 41 and 40 minutes. Like that's going to get you places from a DFS standpoint. Last 4 games for fantasy purposes, 44, 32, 32, and 40 fantasy points. My answer there is Okogie. He's the one who projects best for me. Next question from Ryan Nelson. Not as much of a question as a comment here, but Greg, KCP and Gordon regression ? Jokic title run. I've been saying this. I think Jokic is the best player in the NBA. It shouldn't be that controversial, but people get very upset about it. If you say Nikola Jokic is good on Twitter, they'll just call you racist. He's objectively good. There's no.
Yeah, he's a good basketball player.
And he's
won the MVP twice already.
Yeah, there's not like which also I've been told is because of racism, but there's not like a good way for me to answer that either. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna bow out of this conversation. It's not fun. I like watching Jokic play basketball. and I bet on him to win MVP each of the last few years. I got him this year again as well.
I used to get so mad when people would talk about how Jokic was better than Cap. Like when he first started being good, I was like, there's no fucking way this like second round or undrafted. I don't remember what it was. Second round pick is better than the number one overall pick, who is living up to expectations. Like Cat was playing really well as the number one overall pick. Timberwolves finally nail a pick. And then of course the second rounder. And now it's like, yeah, the second rounder is better than our pick. Reminded me of, when people used to say that this guy Giannis was going to be better than Andrew Wiggins. I was like, give me a fucking break, guys.
I'd have to find it. I was looking to, it's really funny because now I've been on Twitter for like 6 years or something like that. Every once in a while, I'll just, because I don't remember things I said 6 years ago, I will just go into my tweet history and I'll just search certain players, see like, what did I think about Giannis 6 years ago? And just because the reason I brought that up, somebody had asked me, Andrew Wiggins and okay, good. I thought Zoom closed on me again. Somebody had asked me Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns or Giannis and Jabari Parker. And my answer was Giannis and Jabari Parker because I think Jabari Parker is going to be better than Andrew Wiggins. Like that was the reasoning I had for landing on the that was the 2v2 answer I had there. Let's see some more questions. So anyway, the question we got here from Ryan Nelson, Jokic title run could be. I think the Denver team is really good this year, and Jokic individually. The other thing too is like if you look at a lot of the advanced metrics on Jokic, his defense, it is very much overstated how him being terrible on defense. He's not the most fleet of foot big man in the world, but by all measures, he's like average to above average on defense.
Yeah, there was one year where I thought he was like elite defensively, like 3 or 4 years back. Maybe I'm misremembering, but like based on some of the advanced metrics.
And got, by the way, also saying I think Jokic should win MVP is not hate on other players. Steve Santon chat saying, why are you hating on Embiid? It's not hate to say Jokic should be MVP this year. I think Embiid is great. I think Giannis is great too. But just saying Jokic should win MVP, it's not hating anybody. There can only be one MVP. It doesn't mean I hate every other player in the NBA who isn't Nikola Jokic. Until the latent racism pops up that everybody thinks is on Twitter. I think Jokic is good. Some more questions.
I just want to say legacy movie trailers asked for no house advantage picks. We're not going to get into it right now, but we actually have those for free on the site. I can actually give you a link.
They're sponsoring. We're going to do that in a second. I'm saving that. I'm saving that for I'm just making sure we answer everybody's questions here. Yeah. And then I am going to pull up NBA Bet Pro and we'll read off some of the highest projected prop bets that we have of the day. But I also wanted to make sure that we answered the super chat that I've been sitting on for a while because Connor McGinty before wanted to know about the top showdown plays or the top single game plays is what they call it on FanDuel for the Miami and Milwaukee game. And we didn't answer because we wanted to wait for the Giannis news. And now that Giannis is in, I'm going to build out some lineups and answer that for him. But here's how this game is going to look different than actually, this isn't going to look that much different from the main slate. Play Kevin Love. Right? That's something that we're going to like anyway. I think Kevin Love is a really, really strong option. But also Giannis is also somebody who's a much higher priority in this than he is on main contest because it's a one-game slate. The price difference between Giannis and Bam Adebayo is not that much for FanDuel single-game contest. So when I'm running lineups right here, the player I got to the most often was Giannis and then Kevin Love. These are my two most rostered players in that entire contest. As far as the star spot goes, I got to, so MVP, Giannis, no brainer.
I can't hear Greg right now. You can't hear him either. Greg, your audio's out.
Are you messing with me or is this
Now I hear you. I hear you now.
You hear me now?
I can. I could see your mouth moving. I could not hear you for 10 seconds.
God damn. All right. I'm going to read this off again just in case it didn't come through. Connor, most roster players for me on FanDuel and Ram lineups. MVP was Giannis. The star spot was Bam Adebayo. The pro spot was Jimmy Butler. Utility spot, Kevin Love. I hope that helps you build your lineups out there. And a super chat from Cheyenne DeWald. Greg, I had Holiday in all of my NHA. I was afraid lines would move, so I made my bets early. When is it optimal to place those NHA bets versus the news? As soon as the news happens. That's when you want to do it. Like as soon as you see that Giannis is playing or Giannis is upgraded, you want to take unders on Drew Holiday. That as soon as the news breaks, you want to be quick to react to it. And now I'll read off. I'm going to go into NBA Bet Pro. And I'll help you, Cheyenne, because I know you've been playing on NHA. I've been seeing you tweet at me and just left the super chat as well. So here are currently our best projected plays for the props against the house available over at NHA. And if you guys are even in a state that doesn't have legal sports betting, you could probably play on NHA and play their props against the house. So you could still get some prop action. But if you are signing up for the first time, use our link. It is going to get you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And that is something you want to be taking advantage of when you're signing up at a new site. NHA. What do we have right now? So we've got some giddy unders that project well for us, but that's pretty flimsy because it's dependent on the status of SGA. Here's what I'm going to say with these giddy props. If SGA is ruled out, take the overs. If SGA is ruled in, take the unders on Josh Giddey. So just that piece of news here. Anthony Edwards over 5.5 rebounds. Love that prop. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Include that in your cards. We've also got here, let's see, what's another one I like? Chris Paul under 1.5 threes. Chris Paul has not made multiple threes. Let me pull this up. This is a prop that I've bet quite a bit as of late, just at sports books in general with Chris Paul. Also, if we do happen to see Campaign back in action for the Suns today, that could slightly cut into the minutes of Chris Paul. But Chris Paul has not hit multiple threes in a game since January 30th. And books are continually posting him over under 1.5 threes. Take the under on that. So I hope all those help you out over there on No House Advantage. Josh Giddey, take his overs if we see no SGA. Take his unders if SGA is ruled in. And then other ones I liked, Anthony Edwards over 5.5 rebounds, and then Chris Paul for under 1.5 threes. Let's make sure there were no more super chats, which there are not. And then in Discord, some more questions we have. Lippy said, have we forgot about Devin Booker? No, I mentioned Booker before. I like Booker. Booker's somebody I like quite a bit in tournaments. I don't have, and I've played Booker actually the last couple of slates. There's no minutes restriction anymore. He played 35 minutes last game, and he's just cheaper than he was earlier in the season for no real good reason. Did you get to Booker?
I'm looking for him right now. Where is he? What's his price?
He is 8,700 on DK.
I have 2% Booker. Huh. So I didn't do anything to get more or less of Booker. And now you've got me thinking about it because he's also got that matchup with OKC. No minutes restriction. We haven't projected for 9.5. Like the ownership seems about fair. 9.5%. Would you agree with that?
No, I think it's too low. The price point, and I'm pretty big on historical pricing, just in terms of finding where guys should be priced when they're coming back from injury. Devin Booker, before getting hurt, was priced over $10,000 on DraftKings.
Was he really?
And now, yeah, and he played 35 minutes last game. There's no more minutes restriction on him. He's back. He's fully healthy. He's good to go. He's over the groin injury, and he's like $1,500 too cheap.
All right. You've talked me into it. I'm going to play some Devin Booker.
There we go. And by the way, so last game, he just shot poorly from the field. He was 6 of 16. The game before that, he shot 13 of 20, put up 45 fantasy points. I like Booker quite a bit in tournaments. Good question, Eric. I appreciate it.
Me too, because I'm going to be actually pretty mad though if Devin Booker doesn't do well, because I only had 2%. Now I got talked into some. So
there we go. Well, at least maybe it'll play out like the thing with Eric yesterday where he got really mad at me because Chris Boucher scored almost all his fantasy points the first 5 minutes he was on the court.
Yeah.
And that was Eric is like, I'm going to tweet about this. And I warned him. I said, this is very early to take victory laps on Twitter. And then Chris Boucher went like 2.5 quarters without scoring any more fantasy points after he tweeted. He came on at the end and ended up being okay, but he was aggressively neutral for how upset Eric was at me. Ernie P, how much Kevin Love? I have 100% Kevin Love now.
I do too.
What did you settle on for Kevin Love?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I love Love. My favorite play on the slate.
Love too.
I love Lamp. Ernie P. Just the same question about Kevin Love. Lippy wants to know, is Jimmy Butler the play tonight? I like Butler less now that Love is starting. It's just another high usage guy added to the lineup. So I don't know if I got any of Jimmy Butler.
And it's not a great matchup. I mean, Bucks Heat, like it's not really a game that I really want to be targeting.
Yeah, I don't have Jimmy Butler lineups.
I don't think I do either. Let me see. See, this is on the last show, they were having a conversation about, somebody suggested that we like throw people off with some of our picks. And I'm like, that we definitely are like, we withhold some of our picks. And the thing is, like, if I'm playing 150 lineups, I'm going to have a lot of players that I don't even know I have. And Jimmy Butler, if I have him, it's not because I did anything to get to Jimmy Butler. What position is Jimmy Butler on DraftKings these days? Power forward.
Power
yeah,
forward.
I have 0 Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, same. And it's one. I wasn't, by the way, I didn't have exposure to him before, but Kevin Love being certain of the starting lineup doesn't help him either. I think there's better plays priced around him. So, for instance, we have, it's like DeMar DeRozan is $700 cheaper with multi-position eligibility on DraftKings, and I have him projected for more fantasy points than DeRozan. I have Kuzma, who I also didn't play, have more fantasy points projected than Jimmy Butler. I have Evan Mobley projected for nearly identical fantasy points to Jimmy Butler, and he's $1,200 cheaper. And then there's just a bunch of good cheap power forwards like KJ Martin, Jabari Smith, Kyle Anderson. So yeah, I found it. I don't think this is a Jimmy Butler slate.
Yeah, same. I'm not playing any.
Yeah. By the way, I have 100% Kevin Love. People saying I'm trying to. If Kevin Love sucks, it's not because I misdirected you in any way. He's in all my lineups.
He's in all of my lineups also.
Yeah. And Lance
Kuzma with 1.5 fantasy points through 8 minutes. I should have faded the first Kuzma. I should have faded the first game. Turns out.
I think no BS. I think that it has been the number one thing that has helped me profit the most this year is on slates with a lot of injury news, just leaving the first game out of my player pool, because there's going to be times where just considerably better value plays are going to open up than what's available in the first game, and at considerably less ownership.
Yeah, no, I mean, it all depends on like how much there is in the first game too. Like if there are good plays in the first game, then I kind of want to play some. This game, I thought it was like I wanted to play some because the Wizards are involved. You know, it's a 227 total. I don't know. It was a fine game to play some. I didn't play a ton, but yeah, it definitely makes sense to leave space for swappability. I agree with you there. But I do think that it depends on like sometimes the first game there are just great plays in it. So but yeah, no, I agree with your point. I thought this game was a fine play to play some. Andrew Martinez asking Love in the forward or center position on DK. Definitely the forward position. Would you agree with that? Like we have too many good centers to be playing Kevin Love at center.
Yeah. And what position did you ask?
He asked if you would play Kevin Love in the power forward or the center position on DraftKings.
Oh, I didn't really put much. I mean,
so I don't think about it like because I'm using an optimizer, but I'm pretty sure he's in the power forward position for me in the vast majority of my lineups. Of course, one of the first ones I look at, I have Kyle Kuzma in the power forward, so I have him center there. But for the most part, I'm playing him in the power forward spot because I like so many centers so much. I really love Rudy Gobert, Alperen Şengün. I've got a lot of Nicholas Claxton, Mason Plumlee. So there's just so many centers that I like that I'd rather play Kevin Love in the power forward spot.
And also, like it's not going to change how many fantasy points they score, whether it's in power forward or center. Like right. To Neil's point before, there are a lot of good center options, so I'm just going to end up with more of them at power forward. But it's not something like I consciously thought about. Let me check Discord really quick to make sure we didn't miss any questions. Lippy, Eric Johnson, how drunk am I if I don't play any Minnesota or Houston guys? Well, you're usually fairly drunk when you're watching these shows, if I'm not mistaken. So about the normal amount. I would say 0% of any Houston or Minnesota guys, and I know Eric usually plays 20 lineups. I would consider that to be fairly insane.
Yeah, I would not do that. But you know, those are going to be very high owned teams. It feels pretty unlikely that nobody from either of those teams puts up a score that you really want to have.
And one final thing to close us out here. And Neil, you'll like this because this is a best ball reference.
Ooh.
Shady GR8 says, I have one good best ball team in round 2, and I'm chasing you in that. He's referring to me. You're in first, and he is 30 points behind me. I ran very good in Showdown this year. So out of my 150 lineups, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to pretend I only played 150 in that contest. I actually got over 100 of them through to the second round. I was very, very happy with that. Yeah.
Did they have a ton of overlay again this year?
Not as much, but there was some, which benefited a little bit. But either way, my lineups were good. And the only player who got injured that really hurt me this year was Cade Cunningham. Overall, I've run pretty good with injuries. So I'm sure I'm going to get fucked in the next round with injuries, but for now, I'm doing pretty good. And that brings us to lock. If you guys didn't do it yet, do us a big favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm going to be back here tomorrow. Neil, you doing shows tomorrow as well?
I'm going to do a couple. Oh, yeah. I'm doing actually live before lock with EMAC tomorrow night. So I'll be on that along with some VODs. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on the strategy show. It's going to be myself and Adam Schur, shit my money, going to be breaking down some NBA. Is he going to be back, though? He's been sick. He's been out for a little while. Probably not. He's on the schedule. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you here tomorrow.